That's the good stuff.
Welcome back, everybody, to Goodwill Podcasting with Connor, Dan, and Stone, your movie podcast that today is smelling what The Rock is cooking. Dwayne Johnson has a new film out in theaters for the first time since 2022, I believe, with Black Adam. People think they get too much of The Rock. I think we get too little. So we are focusing our conversation today around the ex-WWE star and his new film, Red One, who not only stars him, but Lucy Liu, J.K. Simmons, Chris Evans, bunch of people. But the other four films that we will be discussing today, along with Red One, is Southland Tales, Gridiron Gang, Fighting with My Family, The Fate of the Furious, F8 for short, and then also Red One as well. But as you know, around here, if we are discussing 5 movies, that means we have a guest on, and it is none other than Drewby Dooby Movies. Drew, my guy, first-time guest. Dan, great pick. He was the one grabbing the guest this week. Love it. Drew, welcome to Goodwill Podcasting.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here. I'm glad you guys reached out, and I had a fun time watching all these movies. I can't wait to talk about them.
Did you revisit all of them?
I watched all of them. I watched all 5. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I will say, too, I think I wasn't sure, with his filmography, I think it could be a little bit rough, but I generally enjoyed most of these, at least to some extent. So I was pleasantly surprised.
I have to ask you, too, did either of you grow up watching WWE?
No, I would say no. I watched like a handful, but not enough to know what is happening at all. Like I would just jump in and be like, oh, that was fun, but I didn't know any of the people or anything.
I will say after watching, The Iron Claw last year and then also Fighting with My Family, the film that we're discussing today, it's made me appreciate the sport a lot more. It's made me understand it more. I grew up in a very sheltered family. So, there's a lot of, revealing clothing about women, which I wouldn't have mind growing up. But, my mom and dad didn't let me watch that. That's fine, whatever. But it's definitely something that my parents wouldn't have put on. So yeah, I'm new to it too. So that'll be interesting, especially when we get to talking about with Fighting with My Family. But I believe The Rock's first movie was it Mummy Returns, which is insane for your first film.
When he was,
I believe it was 2002, and then he had a spinoff right after that.
I think so. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's right.
And then I think, which is insane because this is always the biggest stars that are ever paid for their first movie ever. I feel like it's always MMA or fighters. Like I feel like I don't know if there's another industry, maybe models that can come in and start doing acting. But it reminds me, just talking about the Scorpion King, was that he was the highest paid actor, first time actor ever when it came to that film. And I remember Conor McGregor just did the same thing when it came to what was it? Roadhouse. Yeah. Great film, I heard. I never watched it.
I never watched that one either.
It's awful. Really
I feel like we should ask though, who is the best ex-WWE actor? Are we all gonna have the same pick probably?
Batista.
Yeah, I feel like it's tough to not go with him, just in terms of I think he's the person that's challenged himself the most, which it seems like I think The Rock is about to start doing, which I'm happy for him. But yeah, I think it's probably a safe choice.
And what is the name? That's the Safdie brother, right? Who's directing that film? He's going to be for A24.
I believe so, yeah.
Smashing
Yeah.
Machine.
Okay, and that was people thought that was going to come out this year, but it looks like A24. Man, I want to do maybe like a YouTube video about it. They've been really interesting this year, releasing so many goddamn movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of fucked them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people haven't forgiven them for whatever they did with Sing Sing. It just got abandoned to oblivion. I feel like they're really searching for awards and really going after them, which sure, if that's what your priorities are, I guess. But it's when everyone heard about The Brutalist, right? They're like, we got to get on that, kind of a thing. And that just adds they probably have 10 movies that have come out this year, which is insane.
I just think the quality hasn't quite always been there this year with them either. To me at least, and not everyone will agree, but I just think some of these movies I've just been really underwhelmed by, and I don't know. I feel like they're just changing as a company. You can see it.
Yeah,
it's kind of a shame. I don't know.
Yeah, I think money has a lot to do with that. They're getting talked about so much, and I mean, for a while, A24 has been a company for a little bit now, not just in the past couple years when they've blown up. So it's like I feel like they were sticking with their formula for so long. Formula starts working, and now they see all that money rolling in, and they have more money to spend now. So they're thinking, okay, well, let's put it back into projects. But now they're making so many movies. I feel like that formula is getting lost along the way, and it's not. I know not every single movie can obviously be amazing, but like I feel like that you saw A24, you knew you were going to get a good quality film, and that's just kind of like backing down like a little at a time. I feel like when I go into an A24 movie, I'm just like, what am I going to get with this A24 film? You know?
Yeah, and it's not like they definitely have clunkers from the past. I think a lot of people just maybe haven't seen a lot of their worst movies, but I think now it's just like there's so much attention and anticipation on all their releases. It's definitely getting noticed more. Plus, they're just increasing the volume to the point where, like you said, it's just there's going to be misses, but now everyone is noticing them because they're just more frequent with the releases. So we'll see how they change. I know they've talked about trying to get into like some IP stuff and things like that. So that could go either way. But I'm curious to see the next 5 years for them. And what I said a while ago is I think they're going to get bought.
Really?
I think they're going to get bought in the next few years. So that's my guess.
Are they still trying to do the Friday the 13th thing? I know that was like they are. Okay, I think it was dead in the water for a while, and then they started to back up again, right? Okay.
Yeah, it got picked back up.
Okay. I'm curious though with Sing Sing. I still hope that Clarence Macklin gets a Best Supporting Actor nomination. He's still one of like the best. Did you ever get to watch Sing Sing, Drew?
Dude, no, I didn't. That's the time frame where I was moving, and I moved to a place where I only have one theater within 30 minutes from me, or I guess two. But one of them is like a super, super old timey theater that someone just bought out, and they play one movie for like a whole week, and then they switch the movie every week, basically. And it's usually a kids film because it's kids centered. But so I didn't get to see it, and then when I got to go to the Heartland Film Festival, it sold out immediately because no one had a chance to see it. And then and that's really rare for Heartland. Heartland's a big festival for indie. It's like the only film situation like where we're bringing film to light in indie, and usually stuff like that does not sell out. Usually it's opening night sells out pretty quickly and closing night sells out pretty quickly. Sing Sing's like the first movie I've seen at Heartland where it's not a big time like event, but it sold out immediately because everyone wants to see it and no one could see it.
It seems like their mindset might still be the fact of trying to push it for Oscars because they don't have it readily available on video on demand yet or on Max. Like they're purposely keeping this out of the public eye because I think what they're going to do is send screeners to critics as the year is coming to an end. It's just really interesting because the last 2 years, if I'm remembering correctly, A24 had two different films that were big hits that got released along this around the same time, which Everything Everywhere All at Once, and then last year was Past Lives. Those were both like in spring releases, which is exactly what Sing Sing was. But like Dan said, I just think it kind of more than any other year, there's been so many films, it just gets lost in the shuffle, and they can't focus on it as much as they would want to or as much as it should be. Like, I don't know, is we live in time and then all of a sudden people are talking about the fact that I saw the TV Glow is, I guess, randomly getting, I know there's like 150 award shows that like people try to predict based off of those what the Oscars will be. I know I saw the TV Glow is getting some nominations here and there, and they're like, should we do our focus on that movie that we completely forgot about?
Right, yeah.
Crazy.
It is crazy. I mean, I guess it's a good problem to have in a way, but at the same time, like you said, amazing movies like Sing Sing just get lost in the shuffle after a certain period of time. It's like you're going to take a lot to get that back in there and get people talking about it again. And I don't know, it's interesting. I'm hoping it does because I know movie theaters do, like they will put in Oscar-nominated movies back in the theater again before the movies. So I'm hoping it does so I can go see it in the theater.
Yeah, and like, first of all, I just want to say two quick things. The thing that bothers me with Sing Sing too is I feel like when you handle it in this way, it's gonna increase the amount of people that just label it as, oh, this is Oscar bait. Like the sole purpose of this movie is just to get Oscar, and like that's so. it's such an authentic movie, and it was made with so much care and love, and like has something real to say. And I think for it to be labeled that way is just moronic and unfair. But that's how they're treating it. Like it's very frustrating. But I mean, looking at their releases now, like it was like Heretic, We Live in Time, The Front Room, Maxine,
Oh,
like,
I forgot about the front room.
and then Sing Sing in the middle there, a different man as well, which I thought was excellent. Um, Going back, I saw the TV Glow, which I liked. Civil War, Love Lies Bleeding, which I loved. Problemista. Um,
Ooh, Problemista, man. No one talked about that one. I really, really enjoyed that.
I
I
didn't
I like that
really
see
movie
liked
that.
it.
too.
I heard good things.
It's good.
Also, did either of you watch Tuesday, the Bird movie?
No, I did
No,
not.
I wanted to try and make it out. It sounded pretty wild, but I didn't make it out in time.
Yeah. So just a mixed bag, and nothing there is like awful except maybe
Maxine,
I guess
maybe.
the front room, and I thought Maxine was not very good, but yeah, not to get off track, but it's just they put out so much this year.
Hmm.
If you talking about award season and festivals and stuff like that, we could talk about our first film if you guys want to, because I think this is Southland Tales was notorious for being one of the most criticized movies ever at Cannes Film Festival. I believe it was in 2006.
Yeah.
I didn't know this before watching it until I saw Dan's review, which I hate looking at Dan's reviews before we jump on the pod because I don't want to know his thoughts. But I was like, I've got to fucking know what Dan thinks of this movie. And I looked at it, but then in your review, you're like, oh, it's the guy from Donnie Darko, Richard Kelly. And I was like, oh shit, like that makes complete sense with what I'm watching on screen and the ideas that are going on. Dan, since this was your pick for today's or this week's episode, do you want to try to summarize what this movie's about?
Yeah, I can try. So basically,
Okay.
and I think a lot of people may just not have seen this, or maybe just never even heard of it. It made absolutely no money. I think it made $350,000.
It's one of the biggest disasters. It was $17 million budget and made like $275,000. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Basically, Richard Kelly, the guy who made Donnie Darko, didn't do really much else in his career outside of this and that. He wrote this just before 9/11 happened, and then he ended up going back and making some changes to it after 9/11. But it it really is a comedy. Like at its core, it's a dark, absurd comedy. But I feel like the story maybe got heavier after he made those rewrites because I think that probably shifted a lot of what he wanted to have to say. But basically, it's set in 2008, like slightly futuristic feel to it. Um, I think when I watch this, it reminds me a lot of like watching a Wachowski movie, like a little bit like The Matrix. Like it feels like I love how much it builds out this world. It feels like it's really easy to kind of fall into. And it feels like slightly futuristic, and everyone has a very unique aesthetic to them. But at the same time, it feels like, yeah, this could be the world we live in. Um, but basically, there was a third world war. There was a nuclear attack in Texas, and because of that, the government is a very authoritarian government. They expanded the Patriot Act into this thing called U.S. ident, which basically allows everyone to be surveilled at all times. There is no like personal freedom. Um, Basically, The Rock plays an actor, Boxer Santero, I think his name is. Is that his?
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Yep. Great name.
Um,
great name.
yeah, and he goes missing, and you find out he got pulled into the web of this ex porn star who is starting a reality show. Um, but he also has amnesia, and there's people trying to find him. Um, and you're basically just kind of following him around. There's like a terrorist cell called the neo Marxists that are active, who are kind of positioned against this like far right government, um, and they're kind of active in the background, and you get a sense there's something else going on, and you kind of are with the Rock trying to figure out what's happening here, what happened to his life, and
So sad.
kind of the bigger picture that we're looking at. It's long. It's about 2.5 hours. So much happens. You have to really lock into this movie to have a prayer of getting anything out of it. But yeah, I really liked it. But we were talking about it before, and like, if someone watched this and hated it, I would not, I wouldn't be upset with them. So
Drew, is this your first time watching it?
Oh yeah, I had no idea this existed. I was like, Southland. I knew every single movie he told me we were watching except for that one. So that's the first one I watched, and I looked it up and I looked up the synopsis, and I was like, okay, I'm with this. And then it just throws you in there, man. It like I love the beginning, the graphics and everything. It's so or that 2000 because you said 2006, right?
Yeah, well, we just discussed Starship Troopers. It reminded me a lot of Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm. 100%. But yeah, no, I was in there, and 2.5 hours flew by because I'm just trying to catch up on what is going on basically, and I honestly like. It was one of those movies where it ends, the credits roll, and you're like, dude, I gotta talk to someone about this. I gotta go see what people are saying about this. What just happened? Oh my goodness, it was a good time though.
Do you guys know why this movie is so confusing? I'm assuming if you did any research at all.
well, I think it's purposeful.
Well,
First of
no,
all.
not necessarily. So originally, Richard Kelly, his plan, which was a poor plan, was to release novels that supplemented the movie. This was supposed to be chapter 7, 8, and 9 of the Southland Tales story. And starting 6 months before the film released, he was going to release a novel or a edition or a chapter every single month leading up to it. He never did that. It came out after the movie. Also, when it premiered at Cannes, they didn't have that synopsis at the beginning of the movie. So everyone was like, what the fuck is going on? They didn't know. So I've seen a lot of people, like I had to do so much research, and still I'm trying to put the pieces together of what the movie's about. I'm gaining more understanding. But even a lot of people are like, hey, I've watched this film 3 times, 4 times, 5 times now. It is so difficult to understand if you have not read those books. It is really hard.
So that there are 3 graphic novels that you can buy that are basically kind of like, I guess, the Star Wars prequels in a way. But you can buy those all as a single volume, which I actually kind of want to do now.
I was actually thinking about getting it for you for Christmas or something. Well, yeah, the thing was he wanted to do 6 and then he compacted it into 3. So yeah, there is 3. For me though, what I've seen people really connect with, and Drew, how old are you?
I'm
You don't mind me
28. I'm 28.
28. Okay, so you're just 1 year older than me, and Dan, you're like 33, right? Or something like that. 31. Okay. All right. Sorry for shooting 2 years above there. Anyways, I've seen a lot of people compare this movie and really be impacted by it, by the feeling of what the 2000s felt like after 9/11 happened. And I think for me personally, I don't know if I'll ever be able to connect to this movie because, like I said, just talking about the WWE, I was kind of in I was raised in a Christian school, really sheltered environment. I was 3 years old or 4 years old when 9/11 happened. I have a terrible memory as it is. I can't remember that much. But I guess like for people like, I mean, Dan, you might, remember the atmosphere of the country better then, which is why this impacted you so much. But for me, I don't know, on rewatch, even after understanding everything and reading the graphic novels, probably help out a significant amount more. But I still don't know if it'll impact me as much as it could impact other people like you.
Yeah, I think people sometimes forget what, and understandably so, what it was like in the country, and I think the amount that it touched on, the Patriot Act. The Patriot Act was a huge, huge deal, and the level of invasion of privacy that occurred, like on a national level, in the name of like national security, and the way like patriotism was weaponized, and the way that was then turned into 2 wars that, you know, cost the country an exorbitant amount of money and lives, and really just served to make a fairly small group of people a lot of money. Everyone kind of went a little bit crazy buying into all that, I think, and it's so interesting to me now watching this, especially at a time with so much political strife, and also at a time where it feels like this predicted so much stuff. Like the the way that the kind of the media is presented in this, and the way that like celebrities have kind of come into the zeitgeist and like control like all the narratives and the media, and everything is like so ridiculous and overdone. But at the same time, you're like, you know, we have these people like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, and like it's kind of like that. We have morons that just get huge platforms and just get to speak on things. And um, when she's talking about teen horniness is okay. Like it's just it's so ridiculous, but and the issues they deal with are so ridiculous, but at the same time, it just kind of clicks for me. And it was a very strange experience watching this in right at this moment that I watched it. Did you feel the same way, Drew?
I would say yes. I feel like the something that connected with me a lot was like the energy crisis and how far unwilling they would go as like a country, so to speak, to refuel that energy. And then what obviously becomes after that is someone creates an energy source that is going to be sustainable forever, basically, and then he puts a monopoly on it. And that's exactly what usually happens with anything that's created that can help a lot of people. How can I make money off this instead of just putting it in a space to make people's lives better? It's like, okay, well, I have this thing that everyone can use and their lives will be better for it, but I'm going to need some money for it. And you see that happen, and you see that money then leads to them wanting to just control everything, by the end. So I thought that was really interesting. And the more you hear about how little fuel is out there, so to speak, or whatever, like the more and more concerning it's going to get. So I found that really interesting.
What was it called? What was it called?
Karma.
Fluid
Karma?
Yeah, and
Okay.
it's Wallace Shawn. He plays Baron von Westphalen, who is the guy who kind of championed this energy source. And the thing you're talking about, Drew, is exactly right. And also, the fluid karma is what is ripping holes, basically, in
in
space
the
time,
okay,
which allows the two versions of Sean William Scott and The Rock to exist. And it's just so funny that on one hand, you would think of fluid karma as a positive for the world, but at the same time, it's being done for profit, and it's also being done at the cost of safety and literally the existence of everything. And I think that's just so spot on. And everywhere in the world, there's an opportunity to better society and do good. I think you see people looking to profit off it. I think we've seen this with, if you dive into cancer research, things like that, you can look at the amount of money that's been poured into that. You can look at, a lot of small companies have made some pretty serious breakthroughs. Those companies tend to get bought by some other larger company, and then it all tends to go away, because as long as that research exists for trillions of dollars to be poured into it, that will continue to happen. And, as soon as there's an answer, then what? Then everyone's living longer. Then that's not a thing that's generating money anymore. It's just, there's so many examples of that in the real world. So I thought that was a really clever way to create the, kind of entire story here with the doubles and everything. I also thought Sean William Scott was awesome in this too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was good. I mean, I saw somewhere that Richard Kelly purposely was casting people that went against their type. That's why he cast Dwayne Johnson in this role, and turned him from like a big tough guy into someone who's like really nervous when he does that finger thing, like you were showing, Drew. And I believe this is the very first movie that he dropped the Rock title when it came, like when the posters came out. This is the very first movie where that happened. We haven't talked about it yet, But I thought Justin Timberlake was going to be in this movie a lot more. he So let me get this straight. Let me just ask you this: do you think that this movie is trying to tackle too much? Do you think that's one of the negative things about it? Because obviously it has a lot to say. Do you think maybe if it focused on it? I mean, I say that, but then if I had 3 more chapters or even 6 more chapters and this all built up to this finale, maybe I would be like, holy shit. But I'm trying to, like you were saying, Drew, you're trying to connect the pieces, but then all of a sudden there's a porn star. All of a sudden there's twins. All of a sudden there's these people who are dressed in cosmetics who get killed by a cop. And I'm like, like, what's going on? So I don't know.
I would say no, because I feel like it effectively dealt with everything. But again, like this is a movie, like you can't like look away from this for 5 minutes. Like you can't not be completely dialed into what's happening. So I think depending on the person, they'd give you a different answer to that question. But for me, I would say no. But again, I could understand someone saying yes.
And I found out that so is Justin Timberlake, so he is obviously an ex-soldier that is dealing, like, the fluid karma is also a drug, I believe, that they can use, and is that what they're injecting themselves with, is fluid karma, right?
That's what I kind of took it as, like with the whole needle shot and stuff, and they used it on Justin Timberlake's character, one of the first batches, I guess, of soldiers, so to speak.
Okay, and then when he's like propped up on that rooftop, that is the government, right? When you were saying they can invade your personal space at any time, he's working for them, correct? That's why he's just able to. Why is that woman? That woman who's like, I guess that's just a funny bit where she's like fascinated with Boxer, and she's like playing the part of the script, and she's like, she said, if you don't, I'm gonna kill myself. If you don't, if I don't, I'll suck your dick right now or something like that.
Hey, and I think that speaks a lot to like how people like get the, like maybe their lives aren't where they think it should be, and they get so invested into like this fake story, this fake situation, and they just throw themselves into it no matter what. And also, I have never seen a movie where people are holding guns against their heads so much in my life. It was like towards the end, every other scene's like, I'm gonna do it. And I'm like, oh, he's gonna do it. Don't let him do it.
I also think with Timberlake, like he's an interesting character in this because I think basically he starts using drugs as a way to cope with the war and not processing anything from the war. And I think just that existing as a commentary on really the way veterans were treated from both of those conflicts, I think rather pretty famously, at least, from 2000 to 2008, veterans were really, really struggling. And a lot of people felt like the party that put us over there wasn't too concerned with actually taking care of people when they came back. Mm-hmm. So I enjoyed that aspect of it as well. And he feels like a very unstable character. And I think that's best portrayed in the the musical sequence with the hallucination of the
all the things I've done.
That I've done. Yeah,
that was great.
No, that was good. That was incredible.
I saw someone say that even at Cannes, when everyone hated this movie, when that happened, they were like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I feel like they're just this move. Like, it's so ambitious. Like I said, I feel like there's so many, like, just visual sequences that are just really, really bold and fun and also just ridiculous. Like even the animation of like the car getting on top of the other car and then it goes like, what the hell is this? But also to me, like all the humor here really, really worked for me. Like I think this movie's hilarious. Like it just is so absurd.
It's like the terrorist organization group is named Deep Throat too. Right? And that
No, I'm not in that one. That wasn't
yeah. And that was the person. Deep Throat was the person that exposed Watergate. So I thought that was funny. But
I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, there's just so much going on here. I understand why this didn't make any money. Like, I wouldn't recommend this to everyone, but I also just like I love this cast, and there's so many people that pop. Like Amy Poehler is in this. She's really funny.
Hilarious.
Did you know Kevin Smith's in this?
I couldn't find him.
Yeah.
Where
So he's in cosmetics. He is the guy like at the very end who is like holding the gun to Dwayne Johnson, and they're kind of like having a standoff for a second. The guy with the beard, that's Kevin Smith, just in prosthetics for some reason.
That's hilarious because I saw him on the credits and I was like, where was Kevin Smith at? I love that he's in this though. He's like, I got to get on this somehow, man. Just put me in anywhere.
I say interesting fact about all the things all the things that I've done in this movie is the fact that they had a very limited budget for this. They wanted 50 million. Richard Kelly wanted 50 million. They didn't get 50 million. He got 17 million. And the thing was, All the Things I've Done was one of the most popular songs in the country at the time. He used it in the movie without getting like the licensing, allowed to do it. So what he did was he showed that clip to the Killers and said, look at this, isn't this pretty fucking cool? And the Killers were like, yeah, it's pretty fucking cool. So basically they like decreased their price in order for it to be okay for the budget that they had, which is pretty cool. Also, Justin Timberlake only had 1 day on set.
Wow.
Which makes sense for like, he doesn't really do that much in this movie. There's lots to say about his character. Yeah, he's an narrator. Yeah. Revelations 10:5. Really good. But I enjoyed Justin in this though. He was good.
So Justin's character, he's just chilling on that sniper. Like every time you see him in the story, is that just a law they passed to where they just have these snipers just across and if they need to shoot, they'll just shoot?
Yeah, it seems like they're everywhere.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
So funny.
They're on the roofs and stuff. I was like, what the heck?
See, I didn't know that until you see the second sniper that like shoots that one woman. I was like, oh, okay, so Justin Timberlake's one of these guys. Mm-hmm. That's when I got it. One other thing that I found out too is that they say this in the graphic novels. I don't know if it's implied or not in the movie. I don't think it is, but it's the fact that Roland obviously did friendly fire on Justin Timberlake's character. And they used to be friends, or they were friends. Roland thinks he's dead. Mm. That's a significant thing that they don't tell you, I believe, in the movie, is that Roland thinks he's dead, which is why he hates himself so much, especially his time in the war. But yeah, I encourage anybody to watch this movie and form your own opinion, my guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I also just think like I think that the thing this movie does best is just, and again, it's predictive, just showing like celebrity culture melding with politics. Like what else could be better for right now? Like everything now is just a joke. Everything is absurd and so big, and it's all for show, and that's what this movie is, and that's where kind of we are now. So yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Like I thought of more stuff I don't understand, but I don't want to get into it. We could just go detail through this whole entire plot. Pick out things that are interesting and maybe nonsensical sometimes, but I'm just going to say it. What is with the two girls at the end? How do they like get what's going on like with Dwayne Johnson and they get up on stage and dance with him? Like, how did you interpret that? Like because I think Dwayne, I'm not going to spoil it. No spoilers. Everyone go watch Southland Tales. I don't want to spoil anything about Dwayne. But yeah, Drew, what did you give this on Letterboxd?
Well, I had it at 3.5. And then I sat on it for like a day or two, and I just had so much fun with it. And I thought it was really creative and really like over the top, and I just don't even know how you begin to shoot something like this. And like, where do you start? How do you edit it? And so I gave it 4 stars. I was like, I might go back to this here in like 6 months or something, give my brain a break and try and attack it again. But, I thought it was really cool, and like the way they use the religious aspects throughout this, I thought was really interesting and kind of I don't want to say unique, but like especially for like what's going on right now and how religion can be used as a a way to get shit done. Like, I thought that was pretty interesting. So it's crazy. I've never ever heard of this film ever, but I highly suggest to just at least give it a try. Just check it out.
Yeah, and I also just want to say quickly, like The Rock, he can act. Like, I think he's good in this movie. I think he's good in Gridiron Gang. We're going to talk about both of these. Also, he has his hair, which I don't know if that was
Is that the selling point?
That's what happened.
This is like a real performance, and it's interesting, and it's layered, and it kind of sucks to see that he can do this.
When we're talking about these in chronological order, like, it's not a coincidence that the two oldest films are his best performances.
Yeah,
that's not a coincidence at all. You gave this 5 stars, right, Dan?
Yeah, this for me, like, outside of everything thematically, this is like and I almost never do this. It was like a feel rating, like the vibe of this movie, like the entire aesthetic of it, like I enjoyed so much, and the humor, like basically the entire time I was laughing. So the combination of those things, just like I just enjoyed myself so much, and I love this, and I'll definitely watch it again.
The set piece of the car at the end is really kind of mesmerizing.
Nice.
It's really fucking cool.
It's so, dude, can you just?
Did I know what was going on? No, but I was like, this is really cool right now.
I'm gonna quote Rock on this. Could you imagine sitting in the IMAX and just watching that? Game changer.
That's pretty good. Well, they also said they only had 29 days to shoot this, which is insane. And then I just want more stuff that I found out. I want to say, Drew, because you're talking about the editing process. They didn't have the visual effects done during Cannes. They didn't have them done. He didn't think it was going to get approved for Cannes, but the board of people there were like, yeah, we love it. And then he's like, okay. And then he got fucked over because no one in the crowd loved it.
Yeah.
And then they added, similar to Blade Runner, they added that voiceover for Justin Timberlake. That also wasn't in the movie. So that added more context, as well as, like I said previously, that little information dump at the very beginning.
Very important.
I can only imagine if you didn't know that. I wonder if Richard Kelly, I mean, we're talking so much about this movie, but there's a lot to talk about. I mean, he has two kind of flops in a way, this movie, and then Donnie Darko also didn't do that well. I know he directed another movie, I think in 2009. The name of it, yeah, it's escaping my mind. I heard that's the only film of his that's actually made barely a profit. So I don't think anybody trusts him to make the money. And unfortunately, that's like, I feel like A24, we talked about A24, like, sign him on to direct a film. I know that he's been talking about doing a Donnie Darko sequel. I don't know.
He also, I mean, he talked about wanting to make more of these, which with The Rock now, as like a, you know, the brand that he is now, I don't know if he would do this now, but I
was gonna say, yeah, I don't know if he would.
No, I don't know.
Sad.
It's also this isn't safe. Like, nothing about this movie was safe. It's very bizarre and aggressive and violent and has a lot to say, and that's just the opposite of what he's doing now. Like, it's the exact opposite. But yeah.
If anybody listening loves Donnie Darko, I would recommend this movie a lot.
That's the crazy thing is I don't like Donnie Darko.
I think they have similar vibes. They very have existential ideas, and especially the endings felt very similar to me.
Yeah, and what I do love about Kelly is, like, clearly he just doesn't give a flying shit. Like, he wants to make what his vision, and he wants to tell his story, and it burned him with his career, but like he made two things that are incredibly unique, and at least with Donnie Darko, well, you know, it's always going to be iconic. It's a cult movie. This is a cult movie to a much lesser extent, so I don't know. At least people will remember this. Yeah, I guess.
I saw a lot of people comparing that idea with him doing what he wanted to do to Megalopolis. And that people will see it see that movie the same way as they do this now, like 15 years from now. I don't know. Hey, you give Francis Ford Coppola's all dead and gone.
Yeah, you give Richard Kelly $100+ million. I assure you, he's going to make something we will never forget. Okay, because if he did that,
For real.
17 mil, you said, for Southland Tales?
Yeah. Yep. Wanted 50 million. They gave him 17. He was like, okay, well, I guess I'm gonna figure this shit out.
Crazy, dude.
Drew, you recommended our next film, I think, right? Gridiron Gang.
Yeah, it was the first Rock movie I've ever seen.
Like, oh, okay, like when it came out.
When I was a
Gotcha.
kid. Yeah, this is the first movie I've ever seen Dwayne Johnson in, and I hadn't seen it. I mean, basically since like junior high or something like that, you know. So I definitely wanted to revisit, and like Dan said, I was like, I swear I remember Dwayne Johnson being somewhat good at acting, so I wanted to go back to that to see. And I think with Gridiron Gang, he obviously loves football, and I feel like, and we'll get to it later, but obviously with Fighting With My Family, it's like he needs to find what he's passionate about and work within that, because I think that helps him be better and the story better and him care more, you know, I guess. But yeah, Gridiron Gang is I think it's a solid movie, you know.
Yeah, so this basically is just a story about I guess he's a correctional officer originally that had a past career in football, that becomes a coach of, I guess, juvenile delinquents, you know, is maybe the best way to describe it in juvie. And I really like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
I like the way it's shot. It's like kind of gritty, and the way the camera moves and everything like that, it feels just raw in a weird way and not really commercialized. It feels like there's a lot of passion behind it. I think all the football players, I looked at all of them. I don't think any of them have had really big careers, or inmates, I guess, inmates/football players have had really big careers after this. I think all of them do an exceptional job. And I also love the plot twist of the beginning. Little tiny spoiler. I mean, this is kind of your generic football movie with, you know, it's a feel-good story about, you know, people overcoming their hardships with sports. That's what a lot of films are about. But the plot twist of the beginning, where you think you're going to follow that one kid and you don't, I really like that. And it gets really extreme and violent, more than I'm used to seeing, I think, in sports films. And that was a really nice change for me. But yeah, I thought this was really great. I really enjoyed it a lot.
And I think, I mean, what shines through with this is the authenticity. Like, this is The Rock's story. The Rock was a kid who was committing crimes. His life was a complete mess. He was really struggling. He went to his football coach, grabbed him, put him on a team. He started playing football, and it changed his life. This is The Rock's story. So, like, when I see him make this movie, you know it means something to him. And there's authenticity there, like I said, and that comes through in the performance. Like, it feels genuine. It feels like he actually cares. And I think, you know, the kids, especially Jade Yorker plays Willie. He's so good in this. And he has, I mean, he's had a career. It's a lot of smaller stuff, but he's kept acting, and he's very good. Exhibit is solid as like an assistant coach. But I think it all comes from, you know, again, like I said, this is The Rock's story. So I think you can tell it's important to him. And it's very, I like the way it's shot too, Stone. It's very rough, very brutal. Movie just kind of says what it's thinking. It's like, it doesn't really care. And I think when the violence pops up, it's very real. Like, it's just quick, you know, it just feels very real to me. So
yeah,
I like this a lot. I think this might get bucketed as a generic throwaway sports movie from the 2000s, but it's really not. And the movie has very little to do with football. Like, very little to do with football. Football is kind of an afterthought. So
yeah, which goes with the story so well, of focusing on these relationships people are making through football, and not entirely just being like, oh, football. Like, it's still always about the connections and the interactions and growing as a person. And I don't know, a lot of movies, especially sports movies, they struggle with like character development, because they're not really kind of like solely focused on that, or just like one person will have character development. But in this movie, you see everyone have character development. Even the kid that originally didn't want to play because he's bigger set, he couldn't keep up, it was too hard for him. He comes back and he's like, I'm sorry, coach, like I still want to be involved. And he was like, all right, well, you're going to be our equipment manager. You know, like it's just stuff like that of just seeing him. And like I think also when you're at the football like practice and stuff and you see fights break out in the background, everyone's still fighting and the kids kind of want to get involved in that. And he's like, no, this is your family, this is your people. Like you don't need to go over there, you don't need to fight. It's not important to you. Like this is it's just important because it's showing you that like with those kids, like this is all they have. This is like all their life revolves around is violence in these gangs. And it's so hard for them to think about a life without it and think about like, oh, like I'm a human and I have interests and I can do stuff. And I think this movie does a great job of showing you like football is just a stepping stone. Like there's more stuff out there that you can attach yourself to than just football and get yourself out of here, you know? So I thought that was really cool that they never lost the sense of the story and the character development. And I, like you said, Stone, I do really love how this was shot. Kind of like gave a documentary vibe in a way of like, this is real, this is happening. These camera crews they just happen to be here. You know, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And I think like what you said, Drew, it's also not linear. Like it's not just the typical thing where these kids are just, oh, you know, now I'm shitty and then I just go on a straight line up. It's like they fall back, they make mistakes. And the other thing that makes this movie so good is The Rock is in the same boat. He is not perfect as a coach. And part of what affects him is his own failed career is in the back of his mind. And you can tell there's like a level of bitterness there around him, which, again, The Rock is a football player whose career eventually burned out. I think it was actually injuries that derailed The Rock's career. He was a pretty freaking good football player. He played at Miami, I think.
Yes.
But you know, he is not a perfect coach, which in so many of these movies, like the coach would just be this perfect, you know, holier than thou, I'm the best coach ever, even though I've never done this in my life, like never make mistakes. But that's not real. Like the reality is he would have to learn, just like these kids are learning how to, you know, play the game and how to approach their life from a different mindset. And I like that there's growth from him as well. He's not just a stagnant character, and it makes the story so much more interesting. But again, like if this were made today, that just wouldn't happen. He'd just be this, you know, perfect coach. So I like that. I like that as well.
I don't know why. The one movie that's popping in my mind that we've discussed before on the podcast is We Are Marshall, where Matthew McConaughey comes in. He's like, "Hey guys, I'm here to help out. Hey, yeah, you can do it. You can do it like this, and you can do it like that. Woohoo!" Right? I'm from Texas or whatever. But like what you're saying about his failed football career, what reaches out to me more about the fact that he's imperfect, just like these young men, is the fact of his relationship with his father, which is so damn. There's the scene where he is in this like cell with this
with Willie
kid, with Willie, and he's talking about the fact that it was like him, had a terrible father growing up who didn't believe in him, thought he was trash, and Willie asks him like, when did you forgive him for doing that kind of thing? And he hadn't forgiven him, and his mother had passed away at this time, so he kind of, I believe, looks up and kind of is like, well, that's kind of ironic because I believe his mother was like, he actually did love you, even though he was saying all that shit to you. Like your father did care about you. So he kind of like looks up and's like, wow, I guess I should forgive him, kind of a thing, because, you know, my mother's looking down on me right now. It's like, you're kind of a moron if you don't. And then it's such an emotional scene. It's so gripping. But I mean, Drew, you were talking about it, and I kept thinking about it, the character development. What is good is you don't need that much, because all of these kids kind of have the same background. You don't need that. You just need them to have like a little tiny thing about them, and that is it. But altogether, that collectively makes a really great team for your film and for the football team, right? And it's the fact that even that young kid is kind of like a ladies' man in a way, like the water boy. All the cheerleaders come out, and you got randomly it pops in that one kid's relationship with his mom, which is really good. And he has like a sit down. They have time to have a sit down with him and Dwayne Johnson, just talking about that situation. He's like, "Hey man, why don't you play wide receiver?" Man, it's really good. But yeah, I've always wondered though. I want to like go back when it comes to these sports movies and actually check to see what those final games are like. Because I like that it's like, hey, they didn't win the championship, and this was a playoff game, and they won. Did it go like the way they show it? Like, was there a fumble with like a minute left and all this stuff? Because I feel like maybe that might be dramatized a little bit for the movie. So I always think about these films. They always end kind of the same way like that. Obviously, this is a much different film than others, but when it comes to that final game, it's always the same. So I've always wanted to go back and check it out.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about this movie too, much like Sing Sing, is just showing that like regardless of even if someone isn't in prison, their life is just in a mess. I think it can apply to anybody. Like having something to pour your time and energy into and finding a passion like saves people's lives. And I think like that's a message that will always stick around. But especially for kids that I think the movie does a pretty good job in breaking down like what a gang actually is, like ideologically, in terms of just being a safe place with people that care about you and being a family and being something to lean on. But then it becomes, yeah, you have that, but do this. Here's a gun, go here, do whatever, and it just becomes, I'm gonna do this because the only people I have that mean anything to me are these guys. And I think the movie sets up the conflict so well with the older guy he kind of looks up to coming back around. He's already developed a relationship with the kid that's has the other gang affiliation, and they're working to get closer. And then his buddy shoots him like on the field, and then runs away and gets killed. And just that conflict is so well done because he's upset that his friend died, and he's also literally saves the life of the other kid who got shot and steps in front of his buddy. And just like the amount of conflict you can tell is in his mind, and how overwhelming that seems for Willie, I think is just very real. And that kind of sets up the conversation you're talking about, Stone, and like really diving into what's going on with him. So
You know what's
there's
crazy
just a
is
lot of layers to this, a lot of good characters, really.
Kelvin, the other, not Willie, who's I guess the main football player of the story, definitely. But I feel like Kelvin's probably the other gang member from the opposite gang, is probably the second main character when it comes to the football team. And what's crazy about him, just like I was saying, going back to character development, you don't know anything about him besides the fact that he's part of another gang.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all you need to know because he's probably just like Willie. And they've been instilled with the same mindset of these people are the enemy no matter what situation we're in, kind of a thing. And I think that's just kind of incredible how I was never like wanting to know more about him because I'm like, that's just Willie 2.0, So
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah, no, they set up everyone's character so well and so genuinely, and all these emotions come off so genuinely. The Rock shed a tear. I was like, is that an actual tear coming from his eyes? Oh my God. And it's probably because this is so close to him. He can relate. He can attach his feelings to these feelings his character is having. So he then can display that. And I just thought it was really cool, like you said, how like you don't know anything about Kevin. He's just on a different gang. And when Willie basically saves his life, in that moment, you can see in Willie's eyes, he's like, I just went against my gang, and I'm done. I cannot. And that's when he's in the cell. He's going through it because he's like, I just saved this dude that I've been forming this friendship with, and I know he's a good dude. But also, I just like I just went back on my family, and now my family is going to try and kill me probably because that's how that goes. And so yeah, it's a really important scene, really gripping, and all the characters are really good. I liked that really. The bigger tackle guy who didn't play at first, but then started playing, and he had his kid, and he was like, I'm out here, and they're out there. And I thought that was really good. And at the end, it said that he didn't go on to play football, but he got a job, and he's a father. And I was like, yes, yeah. that is what you get. Exactly.
Yeah, that's Junior, who they kind of set up
Junior,
as like the angriest sort of everybody. And I like that it kind of keeps you in the dark to that. And then he has that scene where he goes out, and he's hitting the sled, and The Rock goes out and talks to him, and you find out, he has a kid who's turning 2. That's his birthday, and you can just understand that in that moment, it seems like he has self-awareness, like he's beating himself up, like I put myself here and I'm missing out on my kid growing up. And you see like kind of, anyone who's that angry, there's a reason.
Mhm.
So every character just really has a good life to them. I think it makes it easy to watch, really. And they don't leave anything hanging in terms of story threads. So
I love how they don't sugarcoat it too. Like you were saying at the very end, like it says what they're doing with their lives now. They're like, hey, not everyone is perfect. Like there's some of
Mhm.
these members that went back to, juvie for other reasons. Like
Mhm.
it's not the fact that this was 100% successful. It's the fact that it was way more successful at not having these guys being incarcerated
Mhm.
than they are without, a physical activity like football or just something to get their mindset. It's the same thing as
I
Sing
think it
Sing.
was only 5 guys from the team that ended up
Yeah.
ever going back to jail, which like when you look at the rates that people get reincarcerated, like that's really, really good.
I think it went from like 15% to 75%. Like 15% don't get back into like 75%. I think that was it.
Yeah.
But 3.5 out of 5 for me. I might honestly after this conversation, I
Might
might
go.
bump it up.
Yeah.
It happens all the time, Drew. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
I would say I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I gave it a 4. Just because, like, I mean, everything we're talking about thematically, but I think it looks really good, and I like the way it's shot. I like the way it's lit. I think it's
Mhm.
very consistent. Um, and yeah, I just like The Rock is someone I always like want to like, and he makes he makes it hard sometimes.
Mhm.
Um, I also just think he's changed over the years, but this version of The Rock I liked and I respect it. So
Yeah, there's this I think I might have sent it to you before, Dan, but there's this really good video on YouTube that I really like that talks about the similarities between Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson and the fact that they themselves have become a brand,
Mhm.
right? And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because this is kind of the transition point as we're about to get into The Fate of the Furious and Fighting with My Family and Red
playing The
One.
Rock,
Yes,
not
he's
Dwayne
playing.
Johnson acting. They're just The
Yeah.
Rock being The Rock. Like yeah,
Mhm.
And it's funny. There's this one thing that this guy kept bringing up, which is really interesting, was the fact that The Rock at a certain point in his career, I think it was around 2010, 2011, said that he wanted his career to be like George Clooney. And what George Clooney did, I believe, in 2017 was he had a tequila company that he bought and he sold it for almost, I believe almost $1 billion, which is insane. I think that might be maybe too much. Maybe he was part owner. I don't think George Clooney's a billionaire, but he sold it for a lot of money. And he said in an interview, I believe in 2021, the reason why he did that, reason why he got into business in the first place was so the fact where when he does more he could be more risky with his projects. It doesn't necessarily matter whether he makes money or not. He is financially stable. And there was a lot of comparisons as well with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the fact that Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day did realty and he was a realtor and bought properties and made sure that he had an income that or a good solid passive income that way he could go out and do projects like that. But when it comes to Wayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds, both of these guys are business guys. Both of them have Aviation Gin with Ryan Reynolds. He's got Mint Mobile, and then Dwayne Johnson's got his Under Armour brand. He's got a tequila. He's got an energy drink. He's got all of this stuff. He's got a production company. It all starts with production companies. But it's the fact that you have the opportunity, right, to make A24 films or whatever you want to make, but you're going for the safer route and you're still going for the money and trying to get those big paychecks, as we know with what happened with Red One, which I don't know really how that works because his production company was involved with that. So like he paid for the movie, but he also got paid for the movie. Don't really know how that works. But we could talk because Connor had to step away at the beginning of the pod. We could talk about my movie first if you guys want to, which is Fighting with My Family. I had heard a lot about this movie when it came out, and the fact that it was really solid, and everybody really wasn't expecting that. And this is a story about a family in, I believe, Ireland, right? No. They're just in England. They're just
I think
in
they're just
England.
in England.
yeah.
Everyone just has different accents.
I think they're Scottish. I want to say.
Okay, the accents kind of throw me off, but I love seeing the family themselves who was cast. I thought the brother did a pretty decent job. So basically, it's this family who grew up in Europe, basically really into the WWE, and they all fight as a family doing that. And they get an opportunity when the WWE basically comes to Europe to do tryouts. And it's Florence Pugh, which is her character is known as Paige or Saria Knight. She goes and tries out with her brother Zach, and they both try out for the WWE. And only one of them makes it. And it's her and not her brother. So that causes a lot of drama within their family. But then also the fact that she moves to America to train in Florida, where her brother is stuck with his failure of not making the sport back in Europe, in England, and they have like a league there that they're trying to successfully run themselves. That's really small, but they're really impacting community and everything. So it's a really touching story. One thing that really bothers me about it, though, is rather than Gridiron Gang, there's a difference between Gridiron Gang and this movie. What is the difference? So they're both sports movies. Gridiron Gang is about football, right? WWE to me, or this movie to me, is about a brand, which is the WWE. It's more about that to me than it is about wrestling, which I find a problem with. It seems like I saw too much WWE and not enough of the family, in my opinion. I loved everything that was going on in Europe. I really didn't care what was going on when it came to the training. Now, a big thing they left out was, I guess, Paige has done a lot since this. And a lot of people were really surprised that they didn't dive into that more. But yeah, there's also this plot line of another brother who has been incarcerated, who didn't have a good life. He didn't make the WWE, and because of that, he committed crimes, and he's in prison. And they randomly bring that up at the very end, like last minute. I thought that was really rushed. And I think this movie, in my opinion, is really, there's no score really, which you don't really have to have a score, but I would like it.
Awful.
Yeah, I would like it. And then also, I think this is really poorly shot. And there's one sequence in specific that I think of it's basically when Paige is in the ring for the very first time. And I forgot to mention this, but Vince Vaughn is also in this movie as a WWE coach who's trying to help her and guide her in this process. That guy is completely made up. By the way, he's not a real character, whatever his character's name is. He's like a combination of like 5 WWE coaches that they just molded all together and put this out there. But yeah, it's in the ring for the very first time. And there's like these weird shots where Florence Pugh's like to the right, but then they wanted the other girls who are trying out like in the background to the left. And then Vince Vaughn's the same way. Like he's up to the left, but then there's random guys that are back to the right. I just thought that was really lazy. It's just really lazy shots. Drew, did you watch this before we talked about it?
No, I did not. No, that was my first time watching it.
What did you think about it?
I pretty much have the same thoughts on you, and it's hold on, I just looked it up. It's Norwich, England is where they're from. But like you said, I really, really enjoyed when they were in England and learning about the family and watching them be like really important to the community and everyone's connection there. And then yeah, it kind of falls off when she goes to Florida, and it's just like the like we talked about with character development in Gridiron Gang, it's very lacking here, and it's very lazy. It's very lazy character development of just like, let's just throw, like she looks different. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, looks. So she's going to change how she looks. And it's like, come on. There has to be a deeper, like she misses her family. Like, why don't we have a serious conversation about that and address that? And I get that's like her issue is her battling with her trying to be herself, which I get. But it's like, if that's literally the only like problem we have with like the situation or her inner conflict, I feel like they just drew that out so long. And like you said, it did become just like a WWE situation in a way, and less about her growing as a individual. I don't know. It's just very, very like what's the word? Like just base level, like ground level. You can't attach anything to it. Like there's a lot of stories that like necessarily I've never been through, but there's parts in the story to where I can attach to and relate to because I'm a human and I've gone through some stuff like that as well. And with this, it's just so basic that it's like, I can't really divulge my emotions into it. But I thought Florence Pugh was awesome. I was like, she's doing circles around everyone in this movie. She's
Especially when she gets to Florida. Oh.
Yeah, I was like, this is like if she wasn't in this movie, I don't know how. It wouldn't have been the same for sure. But it's like a solid sports movie, I guess. But like, where you can see the difference between this and Gridiron Gang, which I thought was cool that we watched two different like sports movies, and you can see and attach those differences.
I think there's a huge problem with this movie. The entire point of this movie is setting up Paige as someone who is only really wrestling because it's what her family does. Everybody does it. That's why she does it. Vince Vaughn basically then proposes to her, and it's put forward that she's not succeeding because she doesn't know why she wants to actually wrestle. The movie literally doesn't answer that question. It's the whole purpose of the fucking movie is to find out, no, you're not just wrestling because mom and dad and everyone else do it and there's nothing else to do. You're wrestling because of your own passion. Like, what is pushing you to do it? It literally just leaves that hanging, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. Like, it really bothered me. And it just makes me feel
how
like
motivational The Rock is.
Yeah, it just makes me feel like she doesn't actually want to wrestle. So why should I care about this movie? Like, it's very odd. I don't know. Did anyone else feel that way? Or
yeah, what'd you think, Connor?
I gave this a 1.5. I thought this was horrible.
Guys, I thought it was good. It's got a good rating. I thought it was good.
Yeah, and I grew up watching WWE, so like I was really excited going into this movie, and I had it at a 2 stars the entire time, up until the credits hit, and it was like Dwayne The Rock Johnson had a career after WWE,
Dude,
and I dropped it down.
Don't get me fucking started. Don't get me fucking started. Why does it say that? Why does it say that? Because here's the thing. You probably saw my review. But in the film, right, he says, hey, like, what are you doing in Europe? Man, I'm here shooting a movie. Cool. All right. This is like 2014. I believe when he met Paige, he was filming like the Fast and Furious 6. So it's so funny because at the very end of the movie, Dwayne Johnson is not part of this fucking family. He's not part of the family. But it tells us information. Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, went on to have a successful acting career. 2 things. You're not part of the family. Secondly, we know that. It was presented in the movie. You don't need to have your name in the end credits. You really don't, Dwayne. And I saw, Connor, you sent us that message. It's so funny. I picked this movie, right? I thought Dwayne was going to be a lot more in the film. A lot more. And it's presented on the poster like he's a lot more in the film. He's there 2 scenes. 2. It is one to be like, hey, Paige. No, I don't know why he sounds like Matthew McConaughey. I can't do it. Yeah. But he's just like, hey, like, give an inspirational speech, right? Inspirational speech. Bam, sign the check. That's all done. You know what's crazy, too? I'm sorry I'm going off a rant right here, but I can't get over this. Is when I was doing research, when she got, I guess, the belt, right? When that conversation between her and Dwayne really happened, where he was basically like, you're going to be fighting for the belt or whatever like that. Connor, you can correct me on my terminology maybe. But anyways, he said right after that, I'm going to make a movie about your family. And this was like in 2014. So it makes me think that he had malicious intentions when it came to putting her in the WWE in the first place. Because right before this, he started his production company, $7 Productions. So I feel like he was looking for stories that he knew and trying to put together maybe a movie about the WWE. And now he has that with Paige. And I know that she's done a lot in the WWE, so it was a good choice. And it is a good story. But just saying that and then it becoming a reality, like saying you're going to make a movie about her before she's even done anything in the actual sport itself. And a lot of the fans of the sport have said that's when she really made her mark. Like what she actually did there. That just seems that's off-putting to me to say that, right? And then like for you to be in the movie and you to be the one who makes the movie and just how you present yourself and to tell me that you're still, had a successful career at the end of it. I don't like that.
All that stuff you're talking about is just him at his worst. Like him just allowing his ego to just completely annihilate everything he touches, and like it's really bad. This movie doesn't really give you much to care about. Like, and I also just think like I touched on it a little bit, but like her character is just not. It's a really good performance. Her character's not that interesting. Like, what makes you interesting? Like? It's just like, oh, I'm British and I'm weird because I have a goth aesthetic. Like, okay, like anything else? Like, what? That's it. Like, you're more than just, oh, I'm a wrestler. Oh, I have dark hair and pale skin. Like, what? What do we actually know about her? It's very odd. Like, her parents, like, I find to be really cringy. All the humor with the in-law parents, like it's a lot of just like sex jokes and stuff. I'm just like, what are we doing? Like, I'm not. Like, I don't think this is funny.
Yeah, my
I think
favorite part of this entire movie is the opening 5 minutes when it's just flashbacks of old wrestlers.
Yeah, I also think one interesting, and I've kind of been dumping on this, but like one interesting thing the movie does is setting up a juxtaposition between her and Zach, like her and her brother, because he is with them in the like selection process. They're together and he doesn't get picked. And then he goes home and he's being a father and he's involved with the sport at a local level and he's teaching kids. And like there's an interesting line to be drawn there between what she's doing at the top and him being involved in the sport like at the community level and seeing the impact it has on young people that are never going to grow up and be in, WWE, but it still can help them and still can keep them out of crime or just, like we talked about with Gridiron Gang, like giving kids purpose and direction and focus. Um, and it does show, like, I mean, I'm not a wrestling fan, but I'm also not someone that thinks it's a joke. Like, these people get seriously hurt. They put their bodies through so much. Um, it is very physical. So I think it shows you him doing like actual wrestling as opposed to the show. So I like that aspect of it. I thought he gave a good performance, but the two of them, that connection is one of the only things I like about this movie, honestly.
Yeah. I
What's
mean,
also this fake story about, I just popped in my head, the Vince Vaughn, like, fake trainer, the guy that doesn't exist, is some weird folklore tale to, like, prop up The Rock's, like, legend.
oh,
Like,
the what's his nickname? His nickname is Big Sex. Yeah. He makes people
like he threw him off of this, like deck or whatever. I'm like, that's not true.
Yeah.
Not at all.
The 50-foot drop.
No, none of it's true. Yeah. But whatever. Go ahead, Drew.
I was gonna say I liked her brother's development and story more than I liked her. Like because when you go back and you just get devastated, especially if your sister is going on to do what you've always dreamed of, you see him spiral, you see him trying to get in a fight and start drinking, and like it takes him maybe a little too long, but it takes them a while. But to understand like what you are doing in your direct community makes a difference. And like, I don't know how true this is, but teaching a blind person how to wrestle is absolutely crazy.
True. That was true.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Like that, like you have no idea what you are doing to that kid's life and how like much better you are making his life because he is able to connect to so much more people rather than sit at a swing by himself all day. Like I just really, really enjoyed that, and I enjoyed like that's the only like kind of like human factor in this movie is like, yes, disappointment is real, and sometimes your dreams are shattered. But you got to pick yourself back up, and you got to keep going every day because you never know what's going to happen in your life. Like maybe he doesn't become a WWE wrestler, but maybe he has a very prosperous life and he has multiple kids and he has a happy wife and he's teaching all these kids how to wrestle and maybe one of them will go off to WWE. I mean, that's amazing. That's a beautiful life. So it's just like, I really enjoyed that.
Do you guys also, and we kind of talked about this, but like it is fundamentally odd that The Rock had nothing to do with her at all. And he just rewrites the real history as if like he met them and her, and he's like kind of there as this like he never met her until after like he watched the documentary about her in 2012 after she had already signed WWE in 2011. So like he just does strange shit. It's like, why are you doing like it's not about you. Like it's so bizarre.
Like I said, it just makes me think that he signed her on to make this movie. It's a terrible thing. Like he was the one who initiated. Like she was signed beforehand. Like I feel like obviously The Rock is say, if he had any say in her career and the trajectory of it.
I don't think he did that. Like he was gone from WWE. He didn't even come back till the year that she re-signed. So to the year she
when
signed.
He barely came back.
Yeah, I don't think he had anything to do with this at all.
So but but he was the one that had that. It's funny though because he barely signed on, but then he was the one who was like, "Hey, you're gonna fight for the belt, and I'm gonna make a movie about you." That did happen. That conversation did happen. The first one did not happen, like you were saying, Dan. Like that was all fabricated. But that second one, the only 2 times The Rock is in this movie, one of them didn't happen, and the other one, at that point, he's like, "I'm gonna make a movie about you," which they don't include that in the film. But
yeah, I think even in the film, like The Rock says that he's stopping in and he's not really a part of the WWE, right? Like when they first meet him, he's just coming on to like say what's up to the crowd and get them hyped. Like he's not really a part of it. So yeah, this is it's just batshit crazy, honestly.
I don't know if this would bother you guys at all, but it did when I was looking up stuff about this. Florence Pugh does not look like Paige. I looked up Paige. No. To me, okay, I don't want to have this come across in a bad way. Paige looks like a model, like the people they're comparing Florence Pugh to that she doesn't look like in this film. And that kind of bothers me because I obviously think that Florence Pugh is beautiful, but she does look different, I guess how she's presented to the models in this film, which is a big, plot point. But you look up Paige looks very similar to models. And Florence Pugh is 5'4", Paige is 5'8". That's a big gap. And I looked up other WWE wrestlers that are women. They're all 5'8", or some of the most popular ones are. So I don't know. Obviously, I think, Dan, you hit the nail when you said like the color of her skin. Obviously, those are like beach babes, Florida. She's European. I think that was more of like she's just different. Her like attitude and the way she carries herself, the way she necessarily looks, besides the color of her skin being more pasty, like my own. There's not really much difference there, which I was just like, that disappointed me a little bit. I thought that like she
trying to make her stand out. And create conflict that wasn't necessarily there, yeah. Yeah,
and I don't necessarily think I don't know how many actresses there are out there that look like Paige. And I'm glad, Florence Pugh is very, very capable, and I'm glad it was her, and she does seem like she could hold herself in a wrestling ring.
I also think it's a little weird, and the movie almost tries to go back on this, but it kind of like demonizes the other women just because like, oh, like these attractive like bimbos, like, oh, well, they're not like.
They're just titties.
All, they don't control how they look, and it kind of tries to go and be like, like humanize them and be like, well, I have a kid, and I'm trying to like take care of my kid. Like it does that, but it kind of sets her up as like the good guy, and these are like the evil like other women that are just like dumb and attract. Like it's just like this is stupid. Like that, like they're all people too, and they're just. It is what it is. I don't know.
Like that's like my issue. Just you saying that pops up the issue I have with this movie is the fact that whose fault would that be? I get why she's upset, right? Because she's actually a wrestler. These girls aren't wrestlers, right? But did they have a decision in this? No. Who's the one who decided that? The WWE. But this will not in any way bring down the WWE because it is made by the WWE. That's why there's such a separation that I can feel connected with this film because it's being made by a corporation rather than for
propaganda. Man is kind of a known piece of shit. So
it's like those women are there because this is the brand that the organization wants to build, and this is how it views women. So what, like, it's very bizarre. I really don't like this movie. I think I gave it 2.5 stars. I'm feeling like that's too high. Honestly.
Also, I feel like Vince Vaughn's casting was very random. It's like, okay, just normal dudes just are, I guess maybe if he was normal dudes just train the WWE, he doesn't look like a WWE fighter. Well, he was one though.
Right. That's why I personally love Vince Vaughn. I don't know why. I
love him too.
I like him too and stuff.
Yeah.
I agree. It's very random, but I was like, hey,
sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's making me keep watching the movie. I almost turned it off, but Vince Vaughn is here. I'm in here. I'm locked in.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I think like one of the best scenes in the movie too is like when her brother is in the car, like breaking down on the phone with Vince Vaughn. That might be the best scene in the entire movie, where Vince Vaughn's like, "You got to move on, kid."
Yeah, everything in Europe is great, or London's great. Everything in Florida is not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Besides, like I said, I don't know if you guys like the random brother coming back at the end. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that annoyed me.
They did sneak that in the beginning. They did mention that he went to jail because he had a drinking problem or something.
Right,
like that.
but they don't really talk about him that much.
No,
and then
it was one line for a split second, and then they bring it back up at the end.
Which could have been interesting again to set up a dichotomy between the brothers and show that the impact of a failed career can send you in different directions, and like that stuff is what's interesting here, and it just like.
They bring it in so late, though. Yeah. So late. And you're just like, okay, I guess this guy's here now.
Afterthought.
I'm at 2.5, too. I might lower it as well. What do you have as, Drew? You're the only one that mentioned it.
2.5.
Yeah.
I got a 2.5 as well.
It's like Connor with the Marines. The fact that you grew up with this Connor, like WWE, you're like 1 star.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't even really because of the WWE why I like hated it that much. One, you guys kept praising Florence Pugh. I think for the most part she's good, but I also think there's a lot of parts felt very phoned in by her.
It's kind of doing the same thing over and over. Like it does get a little repetitive, and like I wanted more from the character. She is a good actor.
She's my favorite working actor right now, and I think maybe top 3 working right now.
Not Taylor Russell?
She's up there. But no, I like
Yeah, I'm never going to think about this ever again.
Yeah, I'm happy it's over with.
Speaking of happy it's over with and never thinking about it again, Connor, you wanted us to watch The Fate of the Furious. I'll let you try to. Drew, are you a Furious head? Furious head? I don't know if that's what they're called.
So I am not, but Connor, I literally just bought every single Fast and Furious movie, and I'm now going to watch them all because I was just thrown into this, and I'm like, who's that person? Who's that person? Who is she? Why does he have her kid? What is going on? So now I am determined to watch all the Fast and Furious movies. I even got the Hobbs and Shaw one. Watching them all. I'm putting it together. But yeah, no, I'm not a Furious head, but it's good action. It's good action.
Connor, are you a fan of the franchise?
I am.
Yeah. Okay. Summarize what this plot's about then. You got this.
Okay. It's a family. No, so Vin Diesel and his wife are on their honeymoon down in Cuba, and then Charlize Theron's character Cypher comes along to turn Vin Diesel's character against his family because she has leverage over him, which we'll dive into. And then it's the only thing that Vin Diesel's team can't beat is him. So then you see them band together with the FBI and the former antagonist from number 7 in order to try and take him down.
That's Luke Evans, right?
Huh?
No, wait. Luke Evans is... Oh, Statham, okay. Is Luke Evans in the 7th one?
That's Statham's brother. He's the villain in 6.
Oh, okay. Like I said, Drew, who's that guy?
Exactly, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, his brother's back, and I'm like, he has a brother?
Oh, gosh. Dan, how did you like this movie, my guy?
I don't dislike all these. Like, I kind of like the series ish. Like, I like some of them, especially the earlier movies. I think Fast 5 is cool.
Fast 5 is good.
Fast 5 is the highest rated.
It's the best movie. It's the best movie.
I think that's the best of the entire franchise.
Yeah, and 6 is fine. This, like, I gave this 2 stars. That's probably maybe a little low. It's just like, it's okay. This just like isn't really for me. I don't know. I think it's fine, but it's just, it all just kind of leads into this like 45-minute long like action set piece at the end in the like Arctic, whatever. I'm just like, this is so fucking stupid. Like, Vin gets saved from like a freaking submarine exploding by like a Honda Civic in front of him. I'm just like, what are we doing here?
But they souped it up.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, Tyrese Gibson's like jet skiing on the snow with like a car hood.
I just don't care that much. I don't know with this movie.
Let me ask you guys this. I was trying to pay attention. What is Charlize Theron trying to do? Like, what she wants to, I think the thing is she wants to have the power of randomly. There's no motivation behind why she wants the power or what the world has done to her, but she wants the power to keep countries in line, and if they mess up, she's going to nuke them. There's no motivation behind like what has happened in her life to want this to happen. It's just that's what's going to happen, which is wild. I like the set pieces. I will say, I don't like the Cuba, whatever happened in the beginning. Your CGI red engine going backwards, pull the car apart race. I thought that was dumb. I do like when they're all strapped to. They all like when they're trying to take down Dom and like all these cables shoot into the car at 5 different angles. He's trying to take them all down at once. How he takes out the Rock is he like hits the door and the door comes off and slams into the Rock. I was like, that's what I want. I want Dom Toretto like aggressively like mouth, breaking cars apart by his arms. That's what I want.
I think quickly, Stone, to address the Cypher point, I think the idea is she's almost like Thanos, where she kind of has like a good idea, but it's also just a ridiculously egotistical one. She's kind of like, I don't trust the world to not destroy itself.
So I'm gonna blow up.
Power should not be entrusted to any individual country or leader. So I'm going to control all of it and make sure we don't screw up, essentially. But she just will do whatever to. So that's a very lofty goal for her. I also just think like I don't really like her performance that much. I think she's kind of like overacting. Like she is a great actor, but I think she's a little bit like kind of hamming it up here. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
It could definitely be like what I've seen them in, but I hold Charlize Theron and Idris Elba in like the same category in my head. Is like they're both great actors that feel like they pick bad movies.
I mean, they've both been in Fast and Furious movies. I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Fast and Furious presents Hobbs and Shaw.
There you go. Get it right.
I haven't even watched that movie, but I know that doesn't Idris Elba play like a superhero basically in that film?
No, it plays supervillain.
Okay, I meant like superpowers.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
That's actually my least favorite of the entire franchise.
I would say I love anything Jason Statham's in, man. Like he is the one guy I do not care if he plays the same character. I really don't care. I think I love him a lot. I think there's nobody like him.
One of my favorite sequences in the movie is when he's on the airplane and he puts the little earmuffs on the baby and he's just like fucking people up.
You doing okay?
Yeah, that's awesome. Like that's what I want out of these movies.
That was really good.
There.
We want to talk about The Rock's ego. Is in his contract for movies, he's not allowed to lose a fight on screen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys had mentioned that yet while I wasn't here or not.
Yeah, I mean, they take it down to like a level of where they have people that will like calculate damage taken in a fight and like literally make sure it's even. Like it's like down to a science, which is very, very bizarre.
That's weird.
Can I be honest with you guys? I was thinking about that when he was getting the shit slapped out of him by Krampus. I was like, hold on now. Krampus, you can't do it again. Yeah. Don't you do it.
You know The Rock was gonna get his. Don't you worry.
Oh gosh.
F. Gary Gray, this director, he's had one of the most bizarre careers of all time because his debut was Friday, which is incredible. He did The Italian Job. He did Law Abiding Citizen, which some people don't like. I like. He did Straight Outta Compton. Then he did this, Men in Black International, and Lift.
Oh, I saw Lift and I was like, it's gonna leave it with that.
What the hell? Like it's one of the most bizarre.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that decline is crazy.
That's weird.
I mean, like his peak might be Fate of the Furious.
No, not even close.
Dan didn't even laugh at that. Drew, what did you think about this movie?
I mean, it's action. It's action, baby. I mean, I think they should. I wish they would have just stuck to her being like a hacker because they kept on saying she's like the best hacker. The scene where she's hacking all those cars and everything, that was pretty cool. Come on. Come on, there's cars dropping from the sky and stuff.
Drew,
and
you're gonna love this franchise like I do.
I'm telling you, it's. I mean, dude, I don't know. It's weird because at the end, like, I could feel myself kind of get disinterested, and like it's like the biggest part of the movie, and I'm like, I could almost care less. But I was really into Jason Statham saving the baby and everything, and I really did that. I did think for a split second, Charlize's character was going to shoot the baby and not the mom. I was like, what is happening? Are we going to go a dark path for the Fate and Furious? But no, I mean, I think, what's his name? There's a lot of good like humor in this for the most part that like keeps me like entertained and Tyrese Gibson. I think he's hilarious in this. I think he's good comic break, and I like how they're going. He knows they're going to the Arctic, and he picks the worst car ever to take to the Arctic. It's hilarious. It's awesome.
I will say I forgot they did a good job of making me forget the conversation that Dom and Helen Mirren had. I forgot about that. I was like, who are these dudes? I thought they were just dudes from the random. Oh, let me just say something too, which is probably something that happens in the rest of the series as well. These guys do not give a fuck if they kill anybody. They kill so many people in this movie just at the beginning where they're like,
they all live and everything, right?
Yeah, we got to go get this thing in Germany, right? Oh, this will be fun. We can do it. A new job. And they're just like killing all these people in Germany for this like one thing. I'm like, what do we do? Like that huge like swinging ball thing. It's just murdering tons of guys. And I was like, you're stealing from them. They're trying to stop you. Stop killing them.
Wait, so
good Lord.
Have you not watched any of these either?
I've watched the first one, the fifth one, and probably F7 just to see you again, Paul Walker, tears running down my face. That's probably it.
Yeah, Drew, I think if you like this, you're gonna love the series. I'm excited for you to watch them because I do think, like I said, like I think it's still like I think some people dismiss them like categorically. I think that's silly, and like there is some really cool stuff like that all the stuff with the cars. They did a lot of that for real, which is incredible.
That's awesome.
And you know, they are kind of our generation's like huge action franchise. Like it is what it is.
Supposedly it's coming to an end though.
So when did they start doing all this like team up, like government crazy over the top stuff? Because I remember
six.
Okay.
6.
5.
Well, 5 is when they kind of do like the big team ups, but it's nothing like too outlandish.
Okay.
In that one, like they drag a safe through the streets of Rio.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the craziest part.
That.
But number 6 is when it starts getting a little out of pocket. And number 9 is when they go to space.
So my question to you is: the first one is Fast and Furious, right? And then the fourth one is called The Fast and The Furious. What is there? Is it a totally different story? Are they restarting, or is it just a?
It's all a continuation. I think number 3 is like Fast and Furious, but it's the and symbol, not the word.
Okay.
No. The third one. Do you know about the third one, Drew?
Tokyo Drift.
Yeah, I don't think Dom's. I don't think Dom's even in that movie. I don't think Dom's in that movie.
I've seen Tokyo Drift like once, and I really enjoy Tokyo Drift. It's that Southern boy, right?
Yeah.
Like a Southern
accent in Tokyo Drift. Oh yeah. Tokyo Drift was like the first Hobbs and Shaw. Like it's a spin-off, and then they moved them back in number 9.
That's crazy because they still consider it like the third movie though, and then they didn't realize like they didn't really know what spin-offs were. They're like, oh, we could just call it Fast and Furious presents Tokyo Drift. They missed out on that opportunity. I will say though, something when talking about The Rock's career that's interesting and also sad at the same time was that I saw someone point out the fact that his character is kind of completely different than what it was in Fast 5. Like he's more of like a hard ass and much more intimidating and not necessarily The Rock that we know now. Like he feels like he's playing the character of The Rock that he did in the WWE, which was like a villain. But then in this movie, he's making jokes about Taylor Swift. So it's like, okay, the more time he's in, the more time he has to. And obviously there's all the drama that went down between him, Vin Diesel and him, and having say in the franchise and everything like that. So we see that his character has changed a whole lot. But that's unfortunate because I wish that he wasn't. This could be Red One. This could be Santa's lead elf in this movie.
Yeah, I think some things like that in this movie just don't work for me. And like, also the biggest thing is Shaw literally murders Han and blows up Vin's house.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, oh, I'm the cherry good guy. And it like, no, you're not a good guy. You literally murdered one of the like favorite members of the team. And they're all just like, oh, okay. Like,
you want me to throw some real spoilers out there?
I don't care.
I mean, yeah, I know what you're gonna say, but still, like they
Han's
all
not
have
dead.
Yeah, but they all have that idea.
Yeah, they're family. They should never They should never work with this guy if they think that they took out one of his family. Get out of here, man.
Yeah, it's a little strange. I don't know, but
Oh, you know, one thing I remember too about this trailer that I think is a scene in the movie that is just there to be put in the trailer is when Charlize Theron kisses Vin Diesel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so funny because I remember that being in the trailer and everyone's probably was like, what is Dom doing? And it's so funny because afterwards he's like, did you do that for you? Did you do that for her? Did you do that? I don't know why everyone sounds like that. Did you do that for me? And she's like, I don't know. And I was like, you did that for the trailer is what you did that for.
Yeah. She's like, you let me do it though.
Can anyone explain why she has dreads?
No.
Anybody?
I thought she was going to get rid of them because she was in Cuba and they're still there the entire movie.
Maybe she's
Her
from the
hair is
Jersey
different
Shore.
in every movie she's in.
What'd you say, Connor?
Her hair is different in every one of these movies.
That is true.
It's just
in these movies.
She's in more Fast and Furious movies?
Well, yeah, she lives at the end of this movie.
I guess so. I guess you're right. I just thought, she would just...
Drew,
After
after number 5, take everything you know about reality and throw it out the fucking window.
Wait till you meet her.
Sit back and enjoy a good time of cars jumping from skyscraper to skyscraper, cars going to space.
Yo, wait till you meet her mother and her sister. I'm just kidding. I don't know if they're part of the movie. They will be.
How deep is this family? What is this?
Well, I heard
Jason Momoa.
Oh yeah, I forgot I heard someone say that they thought that like the continuation of this without Vin Diesel was introducing the fact that he had a son in this movie, and that like his son, Dom Toretto's son, can be like the lead of this franchise one day, like 15 years from now. And I'm like, I can see that totally happening.
Yeah, there was probably some things you guys missed in here though, like the scene right after the kiss. Actually, what Stone was just talking about, Letty makes a comment about, or someone makes a comment about how we should call Brian, and Letty said no, we'd leave him out of this. If you guys don't remember, that's Paul Walker's character name because they don't actually kill him in the franchise. He's still alive, living his life in the universe.
Right. He just goes to be with his family, right?
Yeah.
His actual family.
Are those okay? So there's that one scene where Statham is like maybe dead, and then all of a sudden these random dudes like pick him up. Are those dudes also part of the franchise? Okay, because the reveal, I was like, I think I'm supposed to know who this guys are.
From number 5.
Okay, well, I haven't watched Fast 5 since it came out, which was like.
I noticed the Cuba dude, but I didn't notice any of the other ones. So
Yeah.
There's actually probably a few others in here that you missed that were from like previous ones. This is one where they like brought in a lot of other people from the previous ones.
I like how when they showed the Cuba dude, though, they like put a flashback in there just in case you didn't remember.
That's true. Yeah.
You're like, no, I know who that is. I don't need the flashback. I know who that is. I needed a flashback for the other 3 guys that took him away. I don't know who those guys are.
But yeah, this was a nice variation with all the movies that we're talking about. I appreciate it, Connor.
This might be one of my most quoted movies ever, out of pure sarcasm.
Mm-hmm.
Like
quote some shit.
Like when Dan and I were beefing on TikTok. I really wanted to tell him that I would beat his ass like a Cherokee drum.
When were we beefing?
When I called you a short king.
Oh yeah.
Beat your ass like a Cherokee drum. Yeah, that's so like even them though, it's like there's no stakes. Like Hobbs and Shaw have like all this like past between them, and then like he insults them as what do you say? I'm gonna like punch your teeth so far down your throat that you're gonna have to brush your teeth up your ass, which is pretty funny. But then he's like,
one, that's one they both laugh at. They're like, you.
I wonder if that was planned.
I will admit that is so good that I'm very surprised that I just remembered it.
I know you got that word for word. Honestly, I was like,
what do you guys think of Kurt Russell in this?
That really random. When I saw that in the credits, I was like, Kurt Russell's in this franchise? I had zero clue that he was in this franchise. Is this the first movie he's in? No, because they know him. He's Mr. Okay, because what's up, Mr. Nobody? Yeah.
I think he's in 7. He might be in 6, but I think 7's his introduction. This is Scott Eastwood's first movie.
I don't think he's a very good actor.
I don't think he is either, but he's entertaining.
Is he? He's not Clint Eastwood's son, is he?
Yeah, he is.
Oh shit! Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, he can have the last name Eastwood. I know he was related to him, but I didn't know he was direct like
Nepo,
his
baby.
son. Okay. But I got this at a.
Which one was he?
Men's Health says this is the worst Fast and Furious movie, by the way. But Variety has it at 3. So
You said Men's Health has it at the worst?
Men's Health, the known movie powerhouse Men's Health.
Isn't that a great franchise where none of the lists are consistent? Okay, let me ask this: Are both of them is Fast 5 number 1? Drum roll.
No, I don't think on either of them.
Damn.
What?
7 is 1 on both.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's BS. That's just because Paul Walker, which R.I.P. But that's that. Okay.
Yeah, we can all admit that's sad, but 7 isn't the best one.
You know what's sad is the fact that 7's 1. Okay, so I got this at a 1.5.
Jesus.
2 2.5.
There's no way you rated Fighting with My Family higher than this.
Well, Fighting with fans probably at a 2 right now. Drew liked it.
Which
Comedy
is still higher
subjective.
than a 1.5.
Drew liked it, but I didn't. Comedy subjective. I didn't like anything Tyrese Gibson was saying the entire time. I found him really annoying. He was like, it's tough for me when there's only one character doing comedy, and obviously they're really meant to be the comedic relief, and like the entire film itself is not doing that. They're kind of like brush your teeth up your ass or whatever, but that's like only his. If it's not your thing, it's not your thing. So.
Yeah, I gave it 2 stars, but like so much of that is just I hate that last like 40 minutes. I think it's so dumb. I like the rest of the movie more, but I feel like it ends in a way that I'm just like, this is just tiring me out. I don't know.
Dude,
I'm looking
and
the
this
tiger in the eye.
and it's so stupid. You put your foot on the tiger's neck. Don't let up.
She let up. She found out what happened. Let the tiger free.
And there's like those separatists in Russia are just minding their own business, and then like all these people in cars just go and murder them all.
It's like, sir, you're never gonna believe what just happened here.
Wait,
Good
really,
Lord.
really quick. Give me a count to 10.
Hold on.
But the
What
guy-
would you rate this? Oh, go ahead. Since you're ready now.
The guy that plays the main henchman.
Rhodes, he's off of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but do you know who else he is?
In the movie, or
Christopher Hiveshoot. That's his name. Sorry.
It's Hevio,
Okay.
but he plays Krampus in Red One.
Oh.
Which I didn't know. But
Yeah,
I thought.
didn't
I mean, well. I mean,
He's good at that. He's really good.
I
like it.
Even in this, as like a henchman, I think he's a pretty solid, like main henchman. I think
Yeah.
he's active.
He's got a very distinguishable look to him. I mean, as you guys know, I'm still watching Game of Thrones, so I like seeing him just constantly look at Brienne of Tarth like, "Hey, this is a very big, strong woman. I like her very much." It's so funny.
Drew, what'd you rate Fast 8?
I have it like at a 2.5, a 3 in that range. Like I think I had it at a 3, and I took it down to a 2.5 because I'm kind of with Dan on the fact by the time it got to the end, I was just exhausted. I was like, okay. Like it's like I feel like they just like are getting into the trap of like having to one up themselves with every movie, and even within the movie.
Just
Well, he said they go to space. Like, what does that even mean, bro? They just drive.
You gotta know.
Space?
You got it.
That's what I'm saying. I gotta know. I gotta watch it all. But so yeah, I think it was at a 3, and then I kind of teetered off to a 2.5, and I just kind of found myself disinterested, which was weird because there's so much going on in the last act. But I was like,
It's just continuous. It's just
just
you got to stop
end
it
it.
at some point. Yeah.
I was like, toss that girl out of the plane, and then he did that. And I was like, oh wait, you should have probably.
They also forgive Dom way too quick. They forgive Dom way too quick. Like, we knew it. Come on, man.
Family.
Yeah.
One more thing I'll say, and I think in relation to what you're saying, Drew, with the last act, to me, it's kind of like an MCU effect where just these long, overblown sequences of action where every single character has plot armor. I don't care.
There's no
Nobody's gonna
stakes.
die.
No
It's
stakes,
just a path to the cheery ending, and I'm just like, I just glaze over. I'm sorry. Like I just.
Also, if someone dies, they're never really dead because, right? That's what Michelle Rodriguez. She came back. What the movie before this? Spoiler alert. I mean, it is in this film that they say something like that. But
yeah, I did watch. I have watched the seventh one, and that's the one where she comes back and they try to save her and get her memory back and stuff, right?
Yeah. So even if you're
a 6.
Even if someone dies, they're just never dead. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
if you even see someone die on screen.
All right, Stone, I'm ready to see your face. I had this at a 4-star. I dropped it to a 3.5.
It's okay. I'm glad you enjoy it. I mean,
well,
no, it's just for me. I mean, I wish I could enjoy this more. Just for me, it just feels like probably every single movie, obviously, they just travel the globe. Like, I haven't watched them all. They just travel the globe and try to think of different set pieces that they could come up with. And it's just generic plots. And basically, your enjoyment of this movie is how much you enjoy those set pieces when you get to them. Like I said, didn't necessarily love the last one. Didn't really like the first one. And then I really liked the one in the city, which I've been in New York City a couple times now because I lived right next to it. Where they're traveling doesn't necessarily make sense, but that's a nitpick. Like they're traveling through Times Square and then past the Met. But then when they look at them on the map, they're back by Times Square again. It doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't really matter. So it's just little things. I feel bad for the people in New York City that watch this. They probably were pet peeved about it. It probably happens all the time, though. But so you guys want to talk about the biggest surprise of the year real quick? Dan actually liking Red 1, which I applaud him for because Dan's like, everyone's shitting on this movie. You guys need to knock it off. This is made for children, and I can see them enjoying it.
I think a lot of people are like hate watching this, which like I don't know. I've tried to just stop doing. Like every streaming movie, I guess to backtrack, at the start of the year, like stuff like Lift came out and like Atlas and all, like I'd watch them and they'd just be awful, and I knew they were gonna be awful, and I'd be like, why did I watch, like, am I watching this just to shit on it?
Right.
Like, and what's the point? So I just stopped watching really all those movies because I just don't see value, and people that are gonna watch it, they're just gonna watch it anyway, and it's gonna be on in the background while they're doing the dishes or whatever they're other activities they might be doing, and they're gonna watch it anyway. And I think when I watched this, I was thinking of it in my head as like comparing it to those types of streaming movies. Is this better or worse? It blows them out of the water. Like it blows half of what Netflix does completely out of the water.
Let me ask something real quick. If it half of them out of the water, like I guess if you give them a half star, right. I would say more than half. Okay, so half star, half out of the water, so it's like 1 star, 1.5 star. I know you gave this like 2.5 star, right?
Yeah, no, it's not in the same realm as really any of them. Like this is better than pretty much anything Netflix puts out, in my opinion. So people are gonna have like family gatherings and stuff, or they're gonna have their kids looking to watch something over Christmas, and they're gonna put this on, and it's like it's fine. Like it's this dumbass movie about bullshit. Like it's just like there's a talking polar bear. Like it's ridiculous.
A talking polar bear that's underused. I thought he was going to be in a lot more of the movie.
Okay,
very disappointed. He's on the fucking poster.
I don't understand that either because I definitely thought he was going to be like with him the whole time. I'm like, where is the polar bear, please? But I get like CGIing that the whole time probably is going to take more time and more money that they didn't have because of someone on the set. But but I think it was a little weird, like that was PG-13. I think they should have just committed to PG in a way, because I feel like there's a lot of parents that have to, or like that's what I'm saying, one or the other. But like a lot of parents will look at a PG-13 rating and say no, they won't even give it a try. Like it depending on what age their child is. So I just thought that was a little interesting how they didn't kind of try to go for one, because like even if they did want to make this R, I could see it. You just spruce up the dialogue a little bit, make it a little more violent, just a tad, and it's right there. Or you go backwards and you use the animated polar bear and the animated penguin secret agent and stuff, just stuff like that would intrigue a child a little more than what they ended up doing.
I'll say, just talking about the polar bear, the number one thing that I applaud this movie for is everything.
Garcia. We got to call him by his name.
Garcia.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything that happens at Krampus's hideout, I love that that's all mostly practical effects.
Mhm.
Really good. I mean, the guy from, we were just talking about the Fate of the Furious, the Krampus. Krampus is probably the best part of this movie. Not going to lie.
Mhm.
But, Dan, there's one huge thing that I have an issue with this movie. And I feel like I'm surprised that you don't have an issue with it because of what we talked about with fighting with our family. It's basically a plot element that is a big plot hole, right?
I'm not giving a single fuck about the plot of this movie. It's about Santa Claus.
No, I gotta have it.
Garcia. There's a Christmas witch. I don't care.
Nope.
My brain is off.
Nope.
I'm just looking at the pictures.
My brain's not
around
off
on the screen, and my brain is complete mush.
Nope, I gotta say it. I gotta say my piece.
Okay.
Jack O'Malley is there because he needs to find the person that he was dealing with that gave him the information to. That is Nick Kroll, right? Why the fuck is Jack with them after Nick Kroll? He has no reason to be there.
They're friends.
He's a That's no.
The power of friendship, bro. Christmas.
He's got Garcia as his friend. He could go grab Garcia. Why is Jack there? He has no reason.
Can't be walking around in broad daylight.
Oh my! Fine, Lucy Liu. By the way, who is Lucy Liu? What is her job? She's just an overseer. She's just
said it. Did you not watch the movie? She's the.
Isn't she in charge of the more?
She's the lead director of like the mythological.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, like she
keeps them all in check. Okay.
Yeah. Come on.
The reason why Jack. Okay, sorry. The reason why Jack is in this movie, I feel like they could have just added something. Give me a reason why he's in this movie. The only reason why he's in this movie is to go, whoa, hellhounds, Krampus, zoinks. You know, he's just like, what is all this stuff, guys? Like he's the audience, right? He's going on this journey with us, like this magical, mystical world. I just wish there was something in the plot that just gave him reason to be there rather than they don't even say they're friends. He's just along for the ride now. But that's my one issue.
Drew, in that I think if you went PG and really like hammed this up and made it goofier, or this was never going to be R. This is not a serious movie for adults. This is not a gritty movie. But like you could have done that, but that's not what they wanted to do. But it would have been interesting. But I think going either direction would have helped this because.
Yes.
I think some people, and I feel this way too, it doesn't quite feel like it knows what it wants to be or do. Some people say, it takes itself so. I don't think it takes itself that seriously. Like it's actively making fun of itself a good bit, and The Rock is really there as a straight guy to play off of Chris Evans. I don't think Chris Evans is a good actor.
No.
I think he's the worst part of the movie. I think he's like unwatchable, honestly, and I'm so tired of just like this shtick, and it sucks because like I've seen him in Snowpiercer, and I've seen him really act, and I don't know what he's doing. Like it's tough to see. Like it's honestly tough to watch. I think he's really bad in this.
I love getting to see Kiernan Shipka more though. I think she's pretty fine to look at, and I'm like, oh, okay, sweet, she's in this movie. I was like. That? Kiernan Shipka, the villain, because she was in Longlegs, and she was also in Twisters. So she's been in 3 movies this year as like supporting roles. Her big role last year was Totally Killer. She was like the lead in Totally Killer, that Amazon Prime movie. Yeah, she's the witch. Which the witch is her. I mean, I'm trying to turn my brain off, but her plan's really stupid. But it's right. I'm turning it off. Here you go, Dan. Let me ask you this: what did you think about the son of Chris Evans in this movie?
I thought it was a generic, like, 90s my dad sucks storyline to throw some heart in there.
Yeah. Incorrect. I have the correct answer. He's a bad actor, right? And I thought to myself, no, listen here. I thought to myself, okay, this kid is a bad actor. You know what? I bet there were some good kid actors that tried out, right? I don't think we should have bad kid actors anymore. The only reason why this kid would be a bad kid actor, he's probably a Nepo baby. Let me do some research. This is Jimmy Kimmel's nephew.
Uh-oh.
Yep. I knew you loved that, Dan. I was like, he's barely acted in anything. And I was like, that's exactly why he's in this movie, is because he's Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. I can only imagine. Yeah. Yep, I can only imagine the little boys or girls, I don't know, that tried out for this part and didn't get it because shit, we got Jimmy Kimmel's nephew. He might have us on the show. So anyway,
no, that's a good point. I didn't think he was that bad. I mean, it's not a big role. It's not asking much of him.
Luckily.
Yeah, that plot line is very generic and just
That's what this movie is, though. Like it's so crazy because like there are good, like interesting elements that they are original that I really did enjoy, but for the most part, they have a list and they're just checking off. They're just checking off boxes, and it's just going down the line, and it's like, oh, you have a struggle, oh, this, and it's just like so generic. And I think also why it feels so stale is because The Rock and Chris Evans are zero emotion in any of this. Even when they are getting hit by Krampus and they're in front of everyone, it's just like, it's like they didn't want to fucking be there. Like you can literally tell that neither of them wanted to be on this set. It just made you feel bored. Like even though you're watching Krampus, it's like, bro, can you act like this is exciting for you? Like what is going on?
I will say, speaking of emotion, it was a very nice surprise because I really like this actor. I found Nick Kroll really fucking funny in this. I really like Nick Kroll. And when she has him like, he's like, it's really good.
Yeah.
I love Nick Kroll a lot. So that was a pleasant surprise. Him and Krampus are probably my favorite parts of the movie. None of the leads. Also, first thing, I hate that J.K. Simmons is in this movie, but he's barely in this movie. It's really frustrating. But then also, I feel like the whole PG-13 like element, like this obviously feels like a Marvel movie set around Christmas, and all Marvel movies are PG-13. That's just how it is, and the humor feels very similar. But like the weird element that he's like a super ripped Santa, didn't necessarily need that. It just felt like, ooh, we're edgy. Like okay.
So I feel like the entire framing of like the North Pole operation and this Mora agency and all, it's a very like kind of like fascist vibe, which is really bizarre. But I was kind of like, this is so odd how this feels. I kind of like it because like when you think about it, you kind of need that like authoritarian control to execute something as logistically challenging as delivering all these gifts on Christmas. You needed immense control. All this basically like slave labor they're using up there. It's very regimented. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And kind of like a subversion of expectations around like the cheery, joyful Christmas. It's like, no, everything is like very controlled. And I thought that was kind of funny. The reason I like this a little bit more than I think you guys is I do think there's some creativity to this. Like, I think they came up with some stuff that is different and interesting, even if it doesn't all work. Like, it's not like they just. It doesn't feel as copy as paste as I think a lot of people are saying it is, and like I think, the problem is the more creative stuff is more so in moments. Like when the snowmen attack them, like the snowmen don't look great.
In Cuba, where it's hot as fuck.
Here's the thing. I think when people saying that this is a Netflix movie, is the way it looks. That's the thing, and I feel like that's what's.
It's not consistent in how it looks. Like some things look really good, and some things do not.
The reindeer looks awesome.
I think the narrative of this would completely change if it didn't look as bad at times as it does. Right? If it looked better, had the exact same plot and all the same elements, I feel like people would like it a lot more. It's just the way that it looks that people are like, this is a Netflix movie, not necessarily. I mean, kind of the stars. I mean, it kind of feels like Red Notice. I saw someone say this. I'm so surprised that Ryan Reynolds didn't make a cameo in this, which I thought that was really funny. But
I also just think, and I kind of touched on this in the video I made. There's an interesting conversation because, everyone was dumping on The Rock for what he said, right, about IMAX, etc. Again, is that not what we want? Do we not want actors pushing for their movies, regardless of how we feel about them, to be seen in theaters? Do we not want the industry to do well? Do we not want theaters to do well? Do we not want people going to, like, is this not what we all always talk about? And then people make fun of The Rock because they think this movie is beneath them, frankly. They make fun of him saying he wants his movie seen on the screen. Like, it's just, what are we doing? Like, we can all not like the movie. We can not think it's good, but I don't want companies like Netflix, and this also plays into everything around Narnia and Greta Gerwig, and we're seeing there, like, and also with there's another movie that someone just turned down $70 million from Netflix. I can't
Oh, it
think of
was
what it
Margot
is.
Robbie. It was Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, Wuthering Heights. Netflix was shocked by that. They were like, "How did they turn down this money?" Like, these battles are happening right now. So I think to see someone not just say, "Let's just slop this on Amazon Prime," even though it is a streaming movie,
Yes.
I'm gonna. So I like that, and I think it's strange to just pick and choose. What we think is acceptable to be in a theater. I don't know. Even if it's not a good movie. I'm never going to think about this again. But I think there's an interesting conversation there. I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that too.
Well, I think because you're really good when it comes to this, I agree with that. But then also, I feel like you're really good at telling people what they shouldn't spend their money on. So
I don't think people should see this in the theater. That's the thing.
right,
I have, like, I think you could have both points of view where, like,
right.
I enjoy the fact that they put it out there. I also, when I talk about it, will say, watch this at home. I'm not going to tell people to go spend their money, but some people will go spend, like regardless of any of our opinions, some people still will want to go watch this. The Rock has a lot of fans. Like, there are just families that just want to go to the movies, like, and they're going to do that regardless. So I think there's like a nuanced view where, somewhere in the middle. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that it's coming out this weekend because nothing else would have. So I like new movies coming out every weekend. And
a lot of people were asking why they're like, a Christmas movie in November. I'm like, yeah, but like, you try to release a Christmas movie in December, you're going to you're going to be challenged with so many more movies. But I want to go back to what Dan said about streaming. As you guys know, I'm a huge avid physical media collector, and I think streaming is really it's good, but it has just changed the landscape of theaters. Like, just not even just people going to them, just what goes into a theater. Like Dan said, like it's just so weird because you would have movies all the time that would be in theaters, and people would go see the movies, and they would walk out and be like, "That wasn't that good." And then, but they would go right back to the theater the next day or the next week and go see another movie. Like, I feel like there's so much more maybe it's because it's expensive in a way, and in certain ways, like if you aren't really an avid moviegoer, you don't have like a monthly membership or something, it can get expensive, and you kind of feel hurt that you wasted your time and money on such a terrible movie. So why didn't it just go on streaming? And now that's what everyone is saying. So now there's like what Dan said, it's like, oh, is this movie good enough to go to the theaters? It's a movie. You worked hard on it. You should want it to be in theaters, regardless of what anyone else thinks. Movies are made for the movie theater. I will stand by that 100,000,000%. Certain movies are heightened in the movie theater, and you can't experience that anywhere else. So I do agree. I think people should always push to have their movies in theaters, and streaming just changed that to the point where people are just they're like, oh, just throw it on streaming. You should have just started on streaming. But then, like, there's a lot of, like, I mean, even like a movie like that was good on streaming, like that movie Rebel Ridge. I haven't seen it. Rebel Ridge. I haven't seen it.
Rebel Moon.
Right? Yeah. But I haven't seen it because I don't have Netflix. I don't have any of that, and I don't have the care to set it all up and go see one good movie of the over thousands of movies on there. But if that movie was in theaters, I would have gone and saw it. So it's an interesting conversation.
That's a good point. It's like, if people see a movie in the theater, like you will never hear somebody say to a good movie, this deserves to be on streaming, because it's always the quality of the movie, whether or not, because streaming can't have good movies, which it does, but everyone just considers every single bad movie of this should have been in the theater. That's really interesting. Like, my time and money is not worth this. This should be on streaming. Anything that I see in the theater should be a great movie. And I think maybe there's some nuance to this conversation. That's why people are more inclined to say movies might be better than they are, because they have more of emotional attachment to them because they're more special to them now, rather than just watching them at home. Like Twisters, I know me and Dan are kind of like on it, but for a lot of people, that got them in the theater and just going there. I went to a 4DX theater. I can only imagine if people never go to the movies ever, and the first thing they go to is a 4DX theater, how cool Twisters would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah. Well, sorry, go ahead, Dan. I was going to say, one of my favorite things is like when I love the Dolby Atmos theater. I love IMAX. I love all the fun theaters, but Dolby Atmos is so cool. The sound system is awesome. The visuals are awesome. And one of my favorite things is when I'm in a theater and I hear someone behind me or next to me or in front of me, they're like, what is this? Like, what are we, like, they didn't understand the ticket they bought, so they're in this theater now. And I'm like, bro, your life is about to change. Like, you are not going to be able to see a movie the same way after this. Like, one of my first Dolby Atmos movies was The Batman. And I walked out of that movie like, this is how you watch movies. This is how you do it, man. And it elevates certain movies. It does. And like you said, Stone, it makes that attachment because like I'm doing right now, I have emotionally attached seeing the Batman to one of my first experiences, Dolby Atmos. And that will always stay with me. And I love the Batman, but yeah, so it's interesting, man.
I think it's also just sometimes it's hard, and I think about this because and I hear what you're saying, Stone, because like I also know I'm kind of hard on things, and like, I go see something like Twisters or Gladiator 2, and I'm like, I just don't think this is a good movie. And like, but we're all watching a good amount of stuff, and like to someone that just is going to 4 or 5 movies a year, they were excited about Gladiator 2. They go watch it. They're like, this is awesome. It's just, attractive people, cool visuals, some action. Like, people have different standards, and I see people like rating Red One like a half star. I'm just like, really though? Like, did you just watch this wanting to just dunk on this because you think it's just, is it a half star movie? Like, actually, like, really? I don't think it is. I don't know. And a lot of people have much lower standards than us. And it's tough to figure that in because, you want to be true to how you feel and what you think, but at the same time, like, there are so many other viewpoints on movies, and I don't know. I think the theater conversation, like we touched on already, is just a little strange around this. And regardless of me not thinking people should go see it at the theater, I'm glad it's there. So
yeah,
there we go. What did you end up rating this, Drew?
I think I'm at like a 2.5.
Nice.
Yeah, I like that there was new interesting elements in this. It wasn't exactly copy and paste, but I hate the feeling I get when I just feel like someone's checking off boxes and there's no emotion, there's no heart in this. Whoever wrote this story or is telling this story didn't have an emotional connection to this, and you can feel it, and it lessens the experience for me. But I did like a certain creativiness and I don't know. I do wish J.K. Simmons was in it more, though. He was just asleep the whole time, which is kind of sad. But
can I say one more thing really quick, Stone, before you? I also think this movie almost gets into something interesting, like philosophically, because kind of the core question the movie is asking, like, and again, when you think about it, this is for kids. I see you smirking, Stone. Don't smirk. No, think about this. It's really about the naughty list, and it's about people being on that list regardless of what they did, regardless of whether it was something small or something large. And it kind of, the message, I think, is, people make mistakes and they're going to make mistakes, but it's about how you move forward, the decisions you make, and how you go about your life. And just because you mess up, you're not irredeemable and doesn't make you like a horrible person. I think there's like, in terms of messages for kids, it's a solid, okay message. And I think that's
because even at the end with the kid, he's like, I'm on that list. Like, I'm not as bad as you, Dad.
Yeah.
Like, I'm on that list. Jeez, dude. But
that's all.
Philosophical. Red One. I like it.
Just a little touch.
You won't hear that today. You won't hear that in any other podcast. I guarantee it. Drew, we usually like to close out the episodes by, recommending movies to our audiences that they might not know. Do you have anything in your physical media collection that you can think of?
Just like any movie or something related to the movies we were talking about?
Any movie. Could be new, could be old.
I'm going to throw out a big old curveball and suggest a foreign film. Afterlife. by Hirokazu Kurita is an amazing movie. And there's a movie going around right now on TikTok that people are kind of talking about. I think it's called like Lives or like 9 Lives or something like that. I don't know, but it's definitely an inspiration off of this movie. But it's about people going into the afterlife, and they can take one memory with them, and like so they're in purgatory, so to speak, before this. And these people that work in this facility of where they're purgatory, they help them recreate their one last memory. And when after they watch it, they'll pass over, and that memory keeps with them the whole time. It's really endearing. It is really it's shot really well. The lighting is really good, and I suggest it to anyone. It's really good. He's one of my favorite directors at the moment.
This is 1998, right?
I believe so. Yes.
Okay, cool.
I think the movie you were thinking of was 9 Days.
9 Days. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good movie. I recommended it on the pod like months ago. It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
So if you like that, I'm telling you, you gotta check out Afterlife eventually, because it's really good and has the kind of like the same, not exactly the same, but pretty much the same stuff's kind of going on.
Hey Drew, can you only watch this on the Criterion channel?
Oh yeah, see, I have no idea. See, you said from my collection, and then I just went from my collection, but probably. Probably
50% off right now. 50% off.
Yeah, it is 50% off right now, Barnes and Noble. So if you're gonna get one thing, it's gonna be $20 with the 50% off. I highly suggest it. It's really good, and it comes with a lot of good supplements and bonus material that you can look at to see how he shot this. I think Hirokazu Kurita is he's so talented in displaying human emotion just through his lens, and I think that is incredibly powerful. He doesn't need a bunch of dialogue to get across emotion. He does it with how he shoots the movie. And I think that is incredible. And he, like I said, he's one of my favorites. So
nice.
I'll recommend mine real quick, just because we actually talked about it earlier in the pod. I don't think I've recommended this, but I do recommend Problemista. Yes. I really enjoy it. I believe it's on Max right now. And just coming from a personal perspective, my wife this is about basically immigration, and it's about this guy basically just trying to get his green card or trying to get sponsored. Mm-hmm. And my wife is an immigrant as well, and that process is really annoying. And I never thought about this before, but it's the fact that my wife, she has a very very popular career position, and that is a nurse, right? So getting sponsored wasn't necessarily, getting a work visa wasn't necessarily difficult for her. When it comes to Problemista, it's an interesting perspective, because it revolves around someone who's trying to be a toy maker, which is not a very popular job. And he believes he's trying to get a job at like Mattel or something like that. Mm-hmm. A very popular, or like Hasbro, something like that. So what do you do if you're not from the United States and you're trying to pursue your passions? Do you just wait until like years and years and years, until you get all your immigration stuff figured out, and then that's when you can do the thing you really want to do with your life? Or do you meet someone along the way that could help you out, which is what this kind of dives into a little bit, because he meets Tilda Swinton, which The Real For Real just told me that The Room Next Door is going to be her last movie, which I'm devastated by that, but good for her. I'm glad she's happy. I'm not happy, but it's okay. Nobody cares about me. But yeah, she's a very kooky lady. There's like a little bit of a sci-fi element to this, where she like cryo-freezed her husband, mm-hmm. and she's trying to do like the same thing, I believe, but she needs Alejandro, this immigrant's help in order to get that done. But yeah, it really showed a lot of stupidity that comes with the immigration process, and just coming from my personal perspective of my life with my wife, it was really good. And there's a lot also with him being a toy maker. There's a lot of interesting visual perspectives in the film as well. And also Julio Torres is the star of the movie, and he also wrote it and he directed it, which is really impressive. And then this is one of the movies that Emma Stone actually produced, and she does a really good job producing movies. She also produced I Saw the TV Glow. I know she produced that as well. So.
Yeah, that movie is amazing. Yeah, the super artistic visuals throughout the movie that really add to the story. I really liked it.
Yeah, I'll be watching that soon. I mean, this is very basic, but I watched Thelma and Louise last night. Fucking awesome. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars.
I still haven't seen it.
It's really, really good. I think it's it's very interesting. Ridley Scott, when you really look at his career, it's so male dominated, and he really likes telling male stories. And then he's just created 3 of the most iconic female characters of all time, which, when you really think about it, is so bizarre. And they're also, all 3 of them are they're in movies that have a lot to say about like gender dynamics and roles, and are very, very progressive. And he's just such. I think Ridley Scott he has a lot of hits and misses, but when you look at his top, like I was going to do a top 10 for him. His top 10 is one of the best ever, and it's not even remotely a conversation. It's disgusting. Like, when you look at what he's made, it's insane.
Can you spoil it? What's your favorite film by him?
Kingdom of Heaven.
I knew it.
The uncut or the extended version?
Yeah. The actual movie. I think it's his best. But like, there's in my top 10, there's probably 6 or 7 where you can make an argument it's his best movie. Like, it's really, really good. I'm going off on a Ridley Scott thing, but yeah,
Where's it streaming? I gotta watch that.
It's on like random stuff. It's on Fubo, MGM Plus, AMC Plus, and Pluto TV.
Okay.
Where you can rent it. Yeah.
Connor?
We recently talked about maybe doing a Christmas episode soon, so I rewatched one of my favorites the night before.
Oh, you've been telling me about that, yeah.
I just brought that up. I think it was like 3 episodes ago when we were talking about Michael Shannon. Because that was my introduction to Michael Shannon, which is hilarious. Sadly, you cannot stream it anywhere right now. You have to rent it on YouTube or Apple or Amazon. But I imagine we'll be doing that soon. I'm going to be definitely picking that movie. But basically, I'll keep it short, is 3 friends party super hard the night before Christmas. And there's this massive party they want to get to every year. This is their last year doing it, and they finally got tickets to the big party.
Hell yeah.
That's a good one. I like it a lot.
So you 2 will at least be watching it here very shortly.
Are you guys watching Christmas movies yet? I just watched the Grinch, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. My wife put that on. I mean, that movie's so really funny.
Don't try to play it off like you didn't enjoy it.
No, I do enjoy it. I would say, I mean, I don't know if it's nostalgia, man. I still find every single aspect of that movie so funny. Jim Carrey's comment, like every line, like really, really hits. Sorry, Dan, have you been watching anything?
I just watched the Christmas classic Red One. That's all I've really.
The Christmas classic, yes.
The philosophical epic.
Yes, getting down to the nitty gritty. I put up Christmas decorations the other day, and we had on the animated Grinch, the one by it's Illumination, right? I did that.
Yeah, I heard that's not that bad.
Look, it's not anything that's going to knock your socks off, but it's not a bad animated movie. I think
it's Illumination, so it's kind of like iffy sometimes with them.
Yeah, but I thought it was solid. It's like a 3 for me. It's a solid. Especially, I think kids will attach to that story way more than our generation did with the live action Grinch. Which is kind of scary at times if you're a child, especially in the mailroom. I'm like, oh my god, this guy is terrifying.
Jury duty.
Yeah, so good.
Drew, thanks for joining us today, man. Thanks for getting up early, as we do every morning when it comes to recording this. Please tell everyone, like he said, he is a physical media lover. So if you guys love physical media at all, please go and follow him. But tell them where they can do that at.
Right now, I am on TikTok, Drooby Dooby Movies. I do have an Instagram. I'm not too active on there. But I am hopefully going to be making a YouTube soon. I've got that in the works right now, but gonna hopefully iron that out. But right now, TikTok is the place to go for me. Big physical media collector. Love movies. I love talking movies. So everyone is welcome in safe space in my environment. So
there we go. And in preparation for next week, I'm sure everyone's going to be doing it, but something we're going to start doing is try to tell everybody what movies we're watching. That way, when they listen to the episode, they can maybe follow along. But everyone's going to be watching these movies this week. We're going to be covering The Wizard of Oz, Oz the Great and Powerful, Gladiator, and then Gladiator 2 and Wicked. Should be a fun episode, especially when we get to Gladiator 2. I don't know. But Drew, thanks for joining us. Oh,
I was just gonna ask, have you seen Gladiator 2 yet? I know Dan has. Have you?
I have not.
Okay.
It could be my favorite movie of the year. We don't know.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big docket though. I will be tuning in for that for sure.
Every time I see someone that's like, this movie isn't that good, I'm like, Dan, you're not alone. I always think of that. So
it's gonna be divisive, man. It's gonna be. I think it's gonna be fun conversation. So
yes, with Paul Mescal. Yes, the Scal brothers.
Yeah, the Scal brothers.
But until next week, guys, please go outside, sit on a park bench, call your friends. I'm going to implement that in our conversation, ending the episode from what Connor said last week. Call your friends this week. Watch those movies. It'll be a fun episode. Looking forward to it. But until then, peace out, everybody. Thanks.